Thank you for meeting. Patricia, thank you for with me.
Sure. No problem.
Look forward to the new happy year, board. I think it's going to be a lot better than what we've had in the past.
Adoption of the proposal. Sorry, it is subject to amendment by a majority of the votes. Yeah, I don't. That's about 2 years.
It's 5:15. Yep.
I don't. Thanks.
Okay. Welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting for January 10, 2023. Let's get the meeting started. It is 5:15. And with that, we will begin with roll call. Trustee Westwell.
Here.
Trustee Westmoreland. Here. Mr. Clerk.
Here.
Ms. Vice President. Here. Thank you. And I'm present. We are all here. And with that, we are now going to see agenda adoption. Regular Board of Trustees meeting for January 10, 2023 is before us for action. Is there a motion?
I'll move. I'll move.
Okay. Is there a second? I'll second. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Trustee Westwell.
Before we get started, I'd asked Dr. Conroy if he could do a short presentation on the agenda adoption. I wonder if we could do that now so that we're all on the same page on agenda adoption, because there was some contention at our last meeting on how this process works.
Not at this time. Since we're adopting our agenda right now, it's not something that's agendized. So let's just move forward with this.
This is
Yes.
agendized. It's here. This is the time.
Correct, but you're asking for a special presentation on approving the agenda. I'm adopting the agenda now, so I'm
Okay.
asking, is there any discussion on the agenda right now?
I'd like to make a motion to pull N1 off of the agenda.
So are you saying you would like to make a substitute motion since there's a motion and a second on the table?
Yeah, I believe that this product is not ready to come before the board. I've talked to Dr. Conroy about it. I believe he's in agreement with me. And so I wish to pull this off the agenda so staff has more time to take a look at this item, do any changes that they might want to do, and then bring it back to us at a later date.
So are you
So my motion is to pull N1 off the agenda.
So are you making a substitute motion to adopt the agenda by pulling this item? Is that correct?
I just want to pull the item. Somebody else can make the motion later if it's pulled off or not, whether we want to approve the agenda, but we can do several motions on each agenda item. And so my motion is just to pull this one off. Somebody else may have a motion to pull something else off or rearrange the agenda in some other order. All I want to do is pull N1 off because I don't believe it's appropriate to be on the agenda at this time.
Okay, so there's a first and a second at currently, and if I'm hearing correctly, you're making a substitute motion to approve the agenda by pulling this specific item from the agenda. Is that what I'm understanding?
No,
Okay,
I just want to pull the item. Someone
Okay.
else can make.
Mr. Clerk, what is the best way to handle this?
Try to put it in order. Well, the best way to handle this would be to make an amendment to the motion, or to approve in my opinion, would be to approve the agenda with the item pulled from the agenda.
Yes.
But you can, as far as I'm reading this here, you can change before we ever even went into it. If we want to, it can be amended prior to us voting on the agenda, but it has to be amended by majority vote.
Okay, so can it be done now that there's a first and a second on the table, or should there be a substitute motion to amend the agenda? What is the best way that,
I think the best way would be to do a substitute motion to amend the agenda and then have another motion to approve the amended agenda and approve the amended agenda would be my advice.
okay, so hearing that, trustee Westwell, would you like to make a substitute motion to approve the agenda with pulling this item? Is my wording just more
I have a
confusing?
question. I have some
Sure, go
questions
ahead.
on it. Can I address our superintendent?
Sure, go ahead.
Dr. Conroy, can you answer a few questions for us, please?
Go ahead, Dr. Conrad.
Is this the appropriate time on the agenda for trustees to make motions and move items for the agenda, rearrange the order for the agenda, and do anything we choose to on the agenda by a majority rule, except adding things onto the agenda? Is that accurate?
I believe this is the time in which to do all that.
Right. And we can do it in multiple motions. Is that correct?
I believe we do.
In other words, I could make a motion to remove something and then somebody else could make a motion after mine's approved or denied. Somebody else could make a motion to do something else. Somebody else could make a motion to remove everything from the agenda. Is that correct?
Technically, I believe that we could all do that. I think we do an amendment to the pending.
We could do that, except that we have a motion pending to accept the agenda as it stands.
And
So
then we
we
would
have
do
to
an
either
amendment.
withdraw, have that motion withdrawn.
Point of order, I wasn't done.
So I'm just saying.
At our last meeting, we had a contention between board members about the proper way to do the agenda approval process, and that's why we're having the discussion here now.
Mhm.
It was the consensus of our three officers that we need to approve the agenda first and then go ahead and make changes later. That's what the consensus of this board came up with at our last meeting.
Mhm.
That is not how it works. That is not how it works. Dr. Conroy, is that your understanding how it works? That the agenda must be approved and then we make changes to it? Or do we make changes and then approve the agenda?
Okay, just stop for a minute, please, everybody. This is getting out of hand very quickly. So let's just stop for a minute. When I reference Robert's rules and I look at page 353, it specifically says changing an agenda. When the adoption of a proposed agenda is pending, which right now it's pending, guys, it is subject to amendment by a majority vote. After an agenda has been adopted by the assembly, no change can be made, right? So when I was saying, since it's right now it's before us, the best way to handle it since it's pending would be through a substitute motion because it's already now pending in front of the assembly. That's what Robert Rule says. Because it's already pending before us, the best way to handle it now would be through a substitute motion by saying, I'd like to move the agenda with this, pulling this specific item, because it's already pending now before us. That's what Robert Rule says. It says, let me read it again. When the adoption of a proposed agenda is pending, it is subject to amendment by a majority vote. After an agenda has been adopted by the assembly, which it hasn't, no change can be made. But right now it's pending. Right.
Point of
So-
order. I was the maker of the motion. So if we're going to go by strict Robert's Rules of Order, which has been stated previously, I should have been the first speaker on the motion for discussion.
Do you have any discussion on it?
I do. So
ahead.
I think there was a mistake made when my colleague said that the three board officers said that this is the way Robert's rules. No, what we did was we made a decision based upon what we interpreted Robert's rules to be. And since the presiding officer is the president and the president ruled in that way, that's what we did. And you are absolutely correct, Madam President. It's pending before the body right now because I made a motion and it was seconded by you, in fact. So now what needs to be done is a substitute motion needs to be made, and then we can move forward.
Yes, Trustee Westphal.
Well, I made a substitute motion and no one asked for a second, so I'm going to change my motion now. Let me finish. I'm going to make a motion because I didn't have a second before. Since you all want to have this all done in one motion, I don't hear anybody else wanting to make changes. So my motion is going to be approve the agenda without item N1. And that's my motion.
Okay. So what I hear you saying, since there's a motion and there's a second, you're making a substitute motion, you now need a second. I will second that. And now let's have discussion on that substitute motion by pulling that item. Is there any discussion on that? Yes, Madam President, Vice President.
So I'm not really clear on what it is, why my colleague would like to pull this to be postponed. And I don't even hear in his substitute motion when he'd like this to be pulled and where does it go? It's a third reading. I think it's about time that we have the discussion, we debate this item. It is before us for the third time. The public has the right to hear and to listen to us vote on what has been presented. So I don't hear about a time certain. I don't hear about a postponement for a time certain. I think it's inappropriate. I think the public expects that we debate this tonight. And so I need to have further information about this and like to know. And, you know, sometimes when we have these issues of policies that need to be revisited or need to be discussed and folks want changes, we do it right here at the dais. That's what public governance is. We talk about it at the dais and we look for ways to be able to make the policies better. And I think that's the most appropriate this evening.
Thank you. Let me just add a little bit of more information to this. I did talk to Dr. Conroy on this. He felt that it would be something that he felt his team needed a little bit more time to bring forward because some of the language needs to be clarified. And so though, yes, typically we would discuss it, he felt that it was better that the administration have time to review it, make sure that it was accurate, made some corrections and brought it forth. So that's a little bit more of information. I wouldn't be opposed if you would consider putting a time certain for this to come back, maybe in the next board meeting where it would come before us. Would you consider restating your motion to put a date for this to come back before us? You wouldn't. Okay. Yes.
Dr. Conroy, is this time sensitive?
I think it's time sensitive in terms of how the board operates. So I think bringing it back to the next board meeting would be appropriate. That would give us time to clean up some of the complexities. So it'd make it easier to understand and explain.
And just to be clear, you approve of removing this from the agenda tonight. Is that correct?
I do.
Okay. For the benefit of Trustee Tarvin, the reason I don't want to do this in public is because it doesn't put our district in a good light. So I'd rather avoid this conversation for the good of the district and allow staff the time that they need to make this document presentable to our board. And I think Dr. Conroy would agree with that. And I hope the board goes along with it. Those are my comments.
Mr. Clerk.
One last thing.
Sure.
I really don't care when it comes back. I really don't. I think that's up to you as the president. I don't want to put bounds on it. If you think the next time is fine, I'm okay with it. If you don't think it's ready for 2 more times, I'm okay with it. I leave that to you. That's why I didn't want to put my restrictions on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
I don't believe that it was stated in the beginning, but I don't believe it was restated when the motion was restated. What are we dealing with here? Which?
01, item 01.
Item 01. So the motion is item 01.
No,
approving the
and
agenda.
one.
And one, I'm sorry. I apologize.
So the motion is to approve the agenda as is,
By pulling
but pulling
pulling,
or tabling item. or
Postponing.
Item N1
correct.
until we don't have a date. Postponing. I think you
Postponing
need
it.
to table it.
No.
Postponing is fine. It works. When I looked at Robert's rules, postponing would work.
Okay, well, whatever.
Postpone to a time certain.
Okay, so there's a motion to postpone to a time certain. No time certain on it. It was just to postpone it. It was second. We've had discussion. We'll go to the vote on that substitute motion. Okay?
Can I
Yes,
clarify
I
my motion?
seconded. Yes,
Because
go
it
ahead.
wasn't to postpone, it was just to remove it from the agenda. Just like we do the consent calendar, we remove things and move them off to a different place. I'm saying remove it, just take it off the agenda altogether. Do whatever you want with it later. Not postpone it, not anything, just remove it.
Thank you for clarifying. There's a substitute motion on the table before us to move the agenda and pull this specific item off the agenda for tonight's business. There's a first, there's a second. We're done with discussion. We'll go to the vote. Okay. Trustee Westwell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Westmoreland?
Aye.
Mr. Clerk?
Aye.
Vice President?
No.
And I'm an aye. It passes 4 with 1 in opposition. Okay, we're moving on now.
Thank you.
Madam President, point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
You need to list who is in opposition by name.
Okay, the motion passed 4-1 and trustee vice president was in opposition of it. Okay, and with that, now we are at D, closed session. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the closed session item?
All right, D, closed session. The public is invited to comment on the identified items listed under closed session prior to adjournment to closed session. In order to address the Board of Trustees, the speaker may wish to indicate his or her wish to speak or may submit a public comment card to the Board of Trustees recording secretary prior to the start of open session of the board meeting. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person per board bylaw 9323. The speaker will address the president from the podium when speaking to the Board of Trustees. 2 items on the agenda for closed session this evening. Number 1, Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators, property 4.4 acre parcel of land located at the corner of Warner Avenue and Nichols Lane, commonly referred to as the Wintersburg property. Agency negotiator Michael Conroy, doctorate, superintendent, negotiating parties. Ocean View School District of Orange County, Republic Services, Inc. Under negotiation, instruction and authority provided to negotiators will concern valuation, purchase and assignment issues pertaining to the disposition of said parcel pursuant to agreement between landowners. And number 2, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Superintendent. I have no blue cards and I don't see anyone there waiting to speak other than the attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And with that, we will be moving on to closed session at 5:31. Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is 6 o'clock and we are going to go ahead and start it. We are returning to open session. And we are now at F, Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, everybody. Everybody, please take your seats. We're moving along. Okay. So now we will go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join us. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our audience to our board meeting for January 10th. Okay, we are now at G, introductions. Dr. Conrad, are there any special introductions tonight?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And with that, we will go to H, minutes. One, regular Board of Trustees meeting minutes for December 13, 2022 is before us for action. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll go to the vote. Trustee Westwell,
No.
Trustee Westmoreland,
Aye.
Mr. Clerk,
Aye.
Madam Vice President,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. It passes 4-1 with Trustee Westwell in opposition. We are now at I, time certain, 6:05. Annual financial audit report is before us for information. Dr. Conroy.
I'd like to pass this over to Mr. Farrell. This is the annual audit and he can introduce our auditors.
Okay,
Um,
Mr. Farrow.
Great. You should have received under a separate cover the two reports for the financial audits. And before us tonight, we have Bobby Patel. He is our external auditor for iBailey that comes and audits our school district.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
So like Keith mentioned, I'll go over the district audit report first and followed by the bond audit report. Before I get started with that, I usually like to define what an audit is. It's a process designed to provide reasonable assurance whether the financial statements are free of material misstatements, with the ultimate goal of providing auditors' opinion. And the way we get to that opinion, it's through a risk assessment approach of the district's processes and internal control and reviewing those controls, and then ultimately concluding an opinion on that. That being said, the first page I'd like to draw your attention to is page 1 of the print page, or if you're looking at the PDF, it'll be scroll page 4. This is the independent auditors report. Few things I want to point out that have changed if you're looking at it side by side, comparing it to last year's, is that the poll format is new now. And that's because of Statement of Auditing Standards 134. So the opinion, it's actually the first paragraph where it's buried somewhere down into subsequent pages. And as I mentioned, the highest level of opinion we provide is unmodified, and that's what the district has earned. The next page I want to draw your attention to is page 97. If you're looking at the PDF, it's page 104. This is called the summary of auditors results. It's one page within the audit report that'll summarize all 3 opinions we provide on the financial statements, federal compliance, and also the state compliance. The first one summarized there, it's federal compliance, financial statements, and the actual report that's tied to that, it's on print page 86. So what this tells us is the district earned an unmodified opinion on the financial statements with no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted. The next opinion that's summarized here, it's over the federal compliance, and the actual report for that, it's on print page 88. Again, what this tells us is the district earned an unmodified opinion on federal compliance. We audited 2 of the major federal programs. We noted no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. The next one summarized on this page, or the following page, 91 rather, it's auditor's opinion over state compliance. We did note deficiencies in attendance and independent study, and also extended learning opportunities grant. In relation to attendance and independent study, the issue was over a ratio of ADA versus FTE. And the way that works is you take the total ADA of the district and the total FTE certificate FTE to get the ratio and compare that to the independent study only related ratio. And I could let Keith speak a little bit more to how the district is implementing corrective actions on that.
When it comes to the ADA compliance item, we have put together a couple of things. One thing we did was we went back and reviewed our program for both in-person and distance learning. And that was a program that served us 2 years ago very greatly. We had over 2,200 kids in it. This previous year, it's declined down to just under 300 kids. So, approximately 11% of its, former glory. So it is a program that was starting to end, and it has ended in the current year. So we no longer have this piece moving forward. Because of the changes and the action that the board has taken in the past on reducing class sizes for both in-person and that one, it became something that was very hard to track and keep on top of. There was a lot of funds given by the federal and state government to sort of enact learning loss mitigation. And because of that, we feel that we have the ability to appeal this finding. And so we feel confident that moving forward that we in the appeal process, we will be successful on the one that actually has affected our ADA.
And then the next finding related to expanded learning opportunities. It was really related to, so the board adopted the plan, and one of the next requirement is that it needs to be submitted to the county within 5 days, and that timeframe was not met. And the district has already implemented procedures on that as far as calendarizing and sharing templates across the various departments involved to mitigate that going forward. That being said, I'm open to any questions you might have.
Okay. Are there any questions? Yes, Trustee Westwell.
I'm asking these questions for the benefit of the public. We overstated our ADA on P2 at 41.6 people too many. Is that correct?
41.6 ADA.
And that resulted in a $404,119 overpayment to us. Is that correct?
Not necessarily, because the district was funded on 1920s ADA, since it's a declining enrollment district. So technically that payment wasn't received yet from CDE. The ADA for this year will be basis for future years funding.
Okay. And we're not going to have the same problem in the future as you discussed earlier. Some of the other findings that I see on here, I'm not going to go over with you, but thank you for bringing them to our attention. I have a question for our superintendent. You have gone over these findings and recommendations. Are you confident that we will be able to timely implement these in a positive fashion for the district?
Absolutely.
I am too. How are we going to address this $404,000 penalty that we have to pay? Are we going to spread this out over time? What's our plan for that?
Well, we'll wait until we see what happens with the
appeal process.
the appeal process. And once we determine that, then we'll work with our fiscal department to determine next steps.
Okay. Are there any charges involved with the appeal process?
No, there is not.
I'm confident our superintendent and staff have identified the problems brought up by our auditor, and they're addressing them. I wanted the public to understand that we know what's going on. We're taking a look at it and we're fixing these things. We've had a problem in this district with lack of attention to some details. I think a whole new renewed effort is being made to address these issues. And I want to thank everybody involved in here. And I don't believe we're going to have this problem in the future. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to clarify that, we were in COVID years. It was very hard to track ELOP. We had a hybrid in-school program. We were tracking kids from home, inbound, hybrid. So, though, yes, errors happen. We work in a system with public and individuals, but I commend our staff for, it was quite difficult. It was very, very challenging. And the fact that these minor little things, yes, we want to always be perfect, right? But they're very minor inconsistencies that were immediately corrected. When I reviewed this report, I was confident that the staff knew that these were mishaps. They immediately took action. In fact, I was pleased to see that you acknowledged that, there was a weakness in communication between the departments and it was addressed quickly. So it's great to see that you guys do know attention to detail is important, and it happens to the best of us. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Yes, Mr. Clerk, go ahead.
Just for the benefit of our new trustee, sir, do you work for the district or do you work at the pleasure of the board?
The board.
Yeah, it's just so she's aware that
Yeah.
this is an independent audit, free from district influence anyway. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will go ahead and move forward with the next item, which is 615 Building Fund Measure R Financial Performance Audit Report for information. Go ahead.
So this report is really a twofold. It's the financial statement audit of the building fund and also the performance audit. The performance audit is tied to this California State Constitution, Article 13A. Basically outlines how the monies can be spent for the Prop 39 projects, in addition to have your voters approve that measure to be spent. On the financial statement side, the district again did earn modified opinion. Like I mentioned, that's the highest level of assurance we provide, with no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted. On the performance side, we tested 67% of the total expenditures from fiscal year 21-22 and noted that all those aligned with the projects that your voters approved the measure to be spent on. That being said, I'm open to any questions you might have on the Measure R report.
Are there any questions on the Measure R report? No? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're a little bit ahead schedule, which I always like. So we don't have kids waiting in the audience for us. It is a time certain item. It's at 6:25, but we are at 6:12. And it is our Oakview Elementary School Bulletin Board presentation. And I see our wonderful Ms. Landero walking up. Dr. Conroy, would you like to do the introduction?
So at this time, we're going to have Oakview present some wonderful things that are taking place at the school. In addition to the bulletin board, they have a special treat for the board that's linked to some activities and programs that they're going to be doing in their performing arts program at the school. So I'll pass it over to Ms. Landero.
I think she's trying to collect her babies, because we're a little bit ahead of schedule, right? Let's see. It's okay. We'll give her a few minutes. They're coming in. Welcome, Ms. Landero. Oh, I see your babies coming in.
Yes. We brought
Wonderful.
About 50 babies.
Oh,
Yeah, 50
yes.
puppies. So good evening, President Singer, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Conroy, Cabinet, our esteemed guests, a lot of my parents, and our mighty owls. My name is Jenna Landero, and I am the proud principal of Oakview Elementary School. Tonight, to kick off our presentation with our theme of inclusion and true inclusion style, we would like to perform for you a musical number from our upcoming Disney musical of 101 Dalmatians. I think we're almost all inside. We're
Okay.
going to perform this way. So do you guys want to come sit in the audience? Or do
We
you-
were going to ask
Okay.
you that. Okay, we
I think
will.
we'll
Board,
give you
I
time
think we
to
should
do
go to
that.
the audience. Okay.
All right. May I present to you one of our numbers, Cruella DeVille. You want a picture with them? Okay. So make some room for our Lord. You're famous.
Great, I'm so proud of you.
Jump back on. Okay. Get your jacket on. You'll never live that one down. I thought the guy autographed it. You did.
That was amazing. Thank you, Oakview students. You guys are fantastic. You are so talented.
All right. Well, that's not all. I still need to talk
Oh,
about why
okay.
we really came.
Go
Okay?
ahead.
Well, we would also like to invite you to our musical, which will be kicking off the first week of March. So make sure you come on down and see that in our beautiful gym. So thank you for allowing us to have that space to be able to do these amazing things for our kids. So at Oakview, if you've been by our school, you know that we have a visual model in the front of our school of a giant oak tree. And that is what we are cultivating in our students every day. It is a tree with 4 roots, one in culture, one in community, one in family, and one in education. From the roots grows the child with the statement, I am. And from that solid foundation and strong trunk are branches that make up the social emotional facets of our kids in the areas of responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, self-awareness, and self-management. Those branches support our leaves with our daily I am statements and our monthly John Wooden character traits. At Oakview, we celebrate and immerse our students in their cultures and highlight cultures around the world. We create opportunities for our students to come together with their families, and we collaborate with the community, bringing innovative and exciting programs and opportunities for the whole family. We recently received a Golden Bell for our innovative Owl's Nest program and the California Pivotal Practice Program Award for our work keeping our students active and engaged during the pandemic. While we do extensive work daily to reach the social emotional needs of our students, because we know you need to Maslow before you can bloom, tonight I would like to highlight the education route of Oakview. At Oakview, we strive to the motto of every student, every day. For us, that means that every student on our campus will receive exactly what they need academically and socially, emotionally each and every day. This year, in collaboration with my general education teachers, special education team, and our parents, we revamped our special education delivery model to a model that emphasizes inclusion and time spent in the general education classroom environment. Research shows that while separate classes with lower student to teacher ratios, controlled environments, and specially trained staff would seem to offer benefits to a child with a disability, research fails to demonstrate the effectiveness of such programs. We also were not seeing the growth academically that we wanted to see, both academically and socially with our students in special education. And we wanted to see and knew that we needed to do more to ensure that they were growing to their fullest potential and that they were prepared in middle school and beyond. Research from the National Center for Education, Restructuring and Inclusion showed that students with disabilities in inclusive classrooms show academic gains in a number of areas, including improved performance on standardized tests, mastery of their IEP goals, grades, on-task behavior, and motivation to learn. We have seen this firsthand in the time that we've implemented our program. One of our mighty owls in third grade, who's been in a special day class since he was in kindergarten, started to mainstream during core academic blocks instead of just recess and lunch this school year. If you were to walk into his classroom and I asked you to pick him out, you would struggle to because he looks just like any other student in that room. His behavior has significantly improved. He has motivation, drive, determination, and a desire to learn and to show what he knows. His parents, who were nervous at first, are thrilled with the progress we have seen in just 4 short months. Research shows that participation in inclusive settings can yield social and emotional benefits for students with disabilities, including forming and maintaining positive peer relationships, which have important implications for a child's learning and psychological development. And we have seen this firsthand. Now, quality inclusive education does not just happen. Let me tell you, a lot of work. Educating children with disabilities in a general education environment requires a level of collaboration between general and special education teachers to create learning strategies and environments that work for all of our students. With me today are some of my amazing teachers who listened to my proposal back in August, and they agreed to jump on this inclusion train. Patty Schraff, 5th grade teacher, and Kim Davis, education specialist, will share some of their thoughts on inclusion and the benefits they have seen. Patty?
Great, you talk really fast. Okay, I'm gonna slow down. So I've been a teacher at Oak for 20 years. And I'm what is known as a gen ed teacher. I do have resource students in my class that leave my class and get their needs met with another teacher, either Ms. Davis or with Mrs. Camarina. And I never really gave it much thought. They just would kind of go away and they would always miss core curriculum. And then they'd get that stepping stone when they were gone, but then they would create another stepping stone, would be lost because they were missing core curriculum. So Crazy Train over here asked me during the summer if I would do this model. And I have to tell you, she said, there's 30 kids. I want them mainstreamed. And I said, you want 10 teachers to alter their schedule. You want 250 students to alter their schedule for 30? That's what you want? That's what you're asking us to do? She said, yes. I was all on board because I didn't understand inclusion. I didn't get it. I didn't know what it was. They were with me during PE or music. And then I had a nephew who got put into STC class. And I see him at another school district in a room at the back of their field, having to go into a separate entrance at a magnet school, Newport Mesa. He's separated from the regular students, the general population. It broke my heart. She knows that. I get it. So we hammered out a schedule. It took us so long to figure out how to do it, but we did it because those 30 students, it's life-changing, not only for me, put for my students are like, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. They have their own desk, their own space. They come in my classroom. It's like you wouldn't even know. They blend right in. And during the musical, we have students that are in Miss Davis's SDC's class, and my students embrace them. And I'm just thinking when they go to middle school and they might get picked on, because I know how middle school kids are. I know that my students are going to stand up for them. And that is what is just the most amazing thing. So it's life-changing to this crazy train model that she's proposed. So thank you.
I have to concur with Ms. Schraff. When Jenna came to us in the spring, we started talking in the spring about what we could do to help all of our kids. My 3rd through 5th had 17 kids, and there was another list equally long waiting to get specialized help. And we spent 10, 12 hours this summer brainstorming different ways that we could help the kids. And Mrs. Landero came up with this idea. At first, I was really skeptical. Mrs. Camarena and Mrs. King and I, those are our babies, and we want to protect our babies and make sure they're getting the best. But as we thought about it and we talked about it and brainstormed, we started to realize the benefits for our kids. Having them leave and then come back, it's been a little hard. I can't just say it's been a piece of cake. Flexibility is an understatement. Flexibility for me, flexibility for Gen Ed, flexibility for my aides. God bless the wonderful aides that we have that are willing to, today you're going into this class, today you're going into here. But the end result is that my students are happy, they're loved, they're successful in these Gen Ed classes. They look like everybody else. They go in every morning. 5th grade all gets the privilege of Ms. Schraff. 4th grade splits up into different classes, and then they come back. 4th grade works with Mrs. Camarena. Like, it's a million moving pieces, but it works. My kids, 6 of the 13 are here in the musical successfully. Half of them were sick today. You didn't get to see it, but come to Oakview in March and you'll see. They're successfully participating with the rest of the population, singing and dancing. And some of Ms. Schraff's kids have taken upon themselves to help them. The other advantage of the program that we're doing is while my kids are out mainstreaming, I'm bringing in those kids that need extra help, that are in resource, or we're roundtabling them, and they get small instruction with us. Mr. Vaughn and I were talking on the way here. The perfect example is a little 4th grader. She comes to Mrs. Camarena. She comes to me for ELA. Well, we just had her triennial review, and we've put her into my class full time. It started today. Guess what? No big deal to this little girl, because she still is starting the day with Mr. Vaughn. She's still doing PE and music and science with Mr. Vaughn. She's still getting reading with me, but it's in the afternoon that she comes and stays and gets more small group instruction in math. So the transition for this little girl was seamless. It was the perfect example of the success. And that's really what it comes down to. At Oakview, we're all about what's best for kids. And this is best for kids. It's super difficult on adults. I can't, well, I mean, it's not honest, right? It is.
That's
It's hard, but it's worth it. We do what's best for kids. And that's, thank you.
So our inclusion model in 3rd through 5th grade, where the majority of our special education students are, is already showing tremendous success for our students who are on IEPs. 3 students in 3rd grade just recently completed part of their iReady diagnostic mid-year benchmark assessment. 1 student grew 92 points, which is an entire grade level. Another one grew 67 points. And while another one grew 75 points in just math, and that's actually 2 grade levels for him. This is an exciting start, and we're looking forward to seeing the results from the rest of our students in the next few weeks. At Oakview, we are proud of our academic achievements, our innovative practices, and the culturally rich and equitable environment we provide all of our students. I could talk forever about all of the amazing programs, activities, and academic programs that we have for our students, but I will end the same way I do every single day at the end of my daily morning messages. If no one has told you they love you today, Mrs. Landero does. Have courage and be kind.
Well, before you guys leave, I know that there's some comments that want to be said, and go ahead, Madam Vice President.
So, Ms. Davis, you said do what's best for kids. And I just want to commend you and Ms. Schraff for the entire time that I've known you ladies. You've always done what's best for kids. And I want to tell everyone what I mean by that. So you're not just innovators in doing amazing things with programs at your school, and you're not just stellar teachers because you go above and beyond to make sure that every kid is included every day, every student is there with you learning in the same way. But you made it possible for your students and your colleagues to breathe clean air. You were two of the leading stars and forces to make sure that the trash dump across the street, the Republic trash dump, formerly Rainbow, cleaned up its act. You were there every day. You were there fighting for clean air to breathe and for kids to be in a safe place. And you are environmental heroes. You're not only wonderful teachers, but you're warriors for the environment and for kids. Thank you so much from the Board of Trustees.
And I just want to say that I echo those feelings. You had, I'm trying to keep it all together here, but I feel like the fact that you were willing to, it was going to be difficult on the adults, but your priority always is kids. That's like music to my heart. Whatever it takes to make sure kids are always first. That's how I feel about it. And it is challenging, but I know how all of our teachers are wonderful and they all do a really wonderful job. But the fact that you know that this needed to be done for those special educational kiddos to make sure they felt part of the general population, that they were loved, that they were cared for, that they were seen. I mean, that's something really dear to my heart. So I just want to say thank you for doing not just what you do every day, but going above that to ensure that all the babies have true representation and they're all taken care of. So thank you very much. And of course, it always starts with a very strong leader, but hey, she couldn't do it with her full team. So thank you. Is there any other comments on this board? No? Thank you again.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to come see your musical. Okay. And with that, we are now going to go to page number I4, 635, Vista View Middle School student presentation. Dr. Conroy.
I'd like to invite Dr. Gates to come up and her student.
Well, when I came this evening, I thought I was going first and have to follow that. But good evening, Board President Patricia Singer, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Michael Conroy, Executive Cabinet, and members of the community. It always brings me such great joy to talk about Vista. And this evening, I'd like to highlight a piece of our science program and our music program. And we know that focusing on highly engaging electives at our school keeps students intentionally interested in learning and propels them towards high academic outcomes. So this past December, I had the opportunity to accompany our environmental science class to Golden View Elementary School and be a part of an interactive experience where they learned about composting and Principal Florigan was a gracious host that helped us complete 2 series of the obstacle course, and they got to see the farm animals. And at Vista, we're in the process of building a program that allows us to focus on sustainability and contribute to our planet in the future. So we're at the grassroots of that, and going to the school and seeing that program really helped our students feel empowered and get some base knowledge as we move forward with this program as an initial step. The students in this environmental class have also gone to the Ocean Institute in Dana Point. And on this field trip, they had a hands-on experience where they were able to examine sea life through microscopes, go out off of the ocean waters of Dana Point and see marine life, and also participate in dissections. So as we ended December 2022, our music program had a winter concert, and we showcased the journey that Vista's been on with this program, because this school year we have 2 sections of strings, 2 sections of band, and 1 section of guitar, with over 150 students in our music program, which is 25% of the school. And our guitar class has students from all ability levels. Inclusion, Jenna will be happy to know, it happens in this class. And we were able to see one of our students play percussion with just their feet during this program. So it was amazing. And so there's so many facets that make Vista wonderful. And one of our students is here with me tonight. And I had the honor of meeting this family during one of our preview days last spring. So they're new to the Ocean View family. We're so happy to have them, and getting to know the parents and this young man's little sister has been one of my highlights this school year. So I know hearing from him tonight will delight and inform you more about Vista View. And on that note, I'd like to hand the floor over to Mr. Anderson Nguyen, 7th grader.
Hi. Like Dr. Gates said, my name is Anderson, and I'm a 7th grader at Vista View Middle School. There are so many different programs that are available to take at Vista View, but unfortunately, as I would like to be a part of every single one of them, I can't. There's only 24 hours in one day. But with the limited time that I do have, I am a part of GATE, ASB, Speech and Debate, and I'm a part of the volleyball team. But I hope I can extend on that list when I hopefully join the other sports teams. My favorite class is actually the hardest class that I've ever taken in my entire life, which is algebra. Coming from a school district that did not offer an accelerated program in 6th grade, I was extremely nervous to be taking algebra, as I had not been able to take pre-algebra before. Let me just note that I was never really a math kid until I joined Miss Hong's class. And thanks to Miss Hong's funny personality, I really started to enjoy math. And thanks to Miss Hong's teaching style and her project-based learning, I not only started to enjoy math, but I really started to grow an understanding for it. So thank you to Miss Hong. Speaking of favorite things, my favorite program at Vista View is the Speech and Debate program. Our Speech and Debate program is welcome to everyone, ranging from students who have never debated before and students who have years of experience. Speech and Debate has helped me and everyone else in it become better speakers, better listeners, and has helped us all become more analytical. On the first day of Speech and Debate, nobody wanted to say a single word, but with more time and more exposure into public speaking, our club has become more vibrant and more full of energy now. Some of the topics that we debate in Speech and Debate include: Congress should be chosen by ranked choice voting, teachers should get paid more, companies should be responsible to eliminate gender inequity, AC causes more harm than good, we should not kill bugs, superheroes are better than wizards, and it's better not to listen to our parents. And although we may disagree with a lot of these topics, Speech and Debate has really opened up my mind and has allowed me to see that there were always 2 sides to every topic. For example, just a few weeks ago, we debated the topic, we should raise teacher pay. And all of us in our speech and debate program thought that we should raise teacher pay. But until we started doing more research into that topic, we never realized that if we want to raise teacher pay, we also have to raise taxes as well. And another example of this is the topic we were debating was killing bugs. And all of us in our speech and debate program agreed that it's okay to kill bugs. And without debating and doing our research into this topic, our speech and debate team never realized that we are hurting the ecosystem every time we kill a bug. And thanks to our recent tournament at Buena Park High, where over 300 students competed, and we brought a team of 9 students. Our team never thought about these topics until we started speech and debate. And I think that every single one of us in speech and debate can agree that we are so grateful and so happy that we are fortunate enough to have this great program. In conclusion, speech and debate has really cleared the lens of how I see the world in, and I can go on and on about how each and every single one of these programs and classes at Vista View have helped me, but I tried to keep this short. Thank you to everyone who has helped me and allowed me to do all these great programs. And thank you to Ms. Hong, Dr. Gates, Ms. Crawford, and thank the board for being here. But thank you for my parents.
Thank you so much. I agree. You're a great public speaker. You are fabulous. Board, I think we should take a, oh, go ahead, Trustee Westwell.
Questions for our student.
Go ahead.
3 quick questions. When you're doing algebra, do you find it easier to learn when the teacher is giving you practical applications for the concept that you're learning?
It's a little difficult to do word problems for me, but once I get past that hurdle, it really does open up my mind and I understand it better because I'm working on something that actually does that uses life.
Right. I understand what you're saying. Life experiences.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have a second question is if the board was to grant privileges to students for student achievement, in other words, if you get better grades, we're going to give some students some sort of extra privileges. What kind of privileges would you like to see as a student?
Well, it all depends on the student, but for me, we have our a program that does reward students for having academic achievements. And I am happy with the rewards that it does give.
Okay, thank you. And last question, do you do the Pledge of Allegiance every day?
In the gym, we can't hear the announcement. So unfortunately, we don't participate in the pledge every single day. But when we are outside and we do hear the announcements, we do participate in the pledge.
Thank you for answering my questions and you had a wonderful presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other feedback? No? Okay, I'd like us to come down and take a picture with our wonderful student and our principal.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. How often do you hear that? That's probably.
How often do you hear that? He's very happy. Okay.
They do have bulletin boards as well, correct?
Oakview does, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. And that takes us now to J, public comments. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the public comments section?
Yes, I will. Jay, public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the Board of Trustees regarding a matter of public interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board per Education Code 35145.5 and Government Code 54954.3. No action may be taken on comments of off-agenda items unless specifically authorized by law. In order to address the Board of Trustees, a speaker may indicate his or her wish to speak or may submit a public comment card like this to the board's recording secretary prior to the start of open session. Speakers wishing to address the Board of Trustees after the first public comment section of the agenda will have the opportunity to do so during any other public comments to the Board of Trustees later in the meeting. If the speaker wishes to address the Board of Trustees on an item on the agenda, time will be provided at the commencement of that item. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Per board bylaw 9323, the speaker will address the president from the podium when speaking to the Board of Trustees. And Madam President, we have one speaker this evening, and it is Stacy Hamilton.
Okay, we
At
will,
least one blue card.
okay, we will welcome Ms. Hamilton to the podium. Oh, I remember him. So sweet. Welcome.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Conroy, President Patricia Singer, Executive Cabinet, and members of the public. Okay, we're a little bit shy. If you don't know, this is Bodie Hamilton. I'm very tall, remove that.
Yeah.
When I was leaving the house tonight, I said to my husband, oh boy, I hope I don't cry. And then the wonderful principal got up here and was like, okay, we're just gonna keep the tears going. So this is Bodie. If some of you don't know, he requested that we change the bells at Oakview Elementary. And we're just here to say thank you. The bells were changed and we're very happy and we're less miserable at school. He started kindergarten and it was a very rough start. And so with the help of all of you guys and Keith, he got to go during winter break and listen to the new bells and he was ecstatic. He got very teary-eyed and then I looked at my husband and we both just, oh boy. So our life is much better now and he's enjoying the bells. He even laughed the first day back on Monday. He said, Mom, those bells, I didn't even hear them, but they kind of sounded like a foghorn, more like a boat. So Bodie wrote a little thank you card and we will leave it with you guys.
He's being shy.
Good
You're
job.
welcome.
Aw.
Behind you.
We are so happy to hear that he is happy at school and that those bells are not bothering him. So that's wonderful to hear. So thank you for coming and sharing that with us. And I know that Madam Vice President worked with our administration at that time to ensure that that was addressed. So thank you, Mr. Farrow, and thank you to the administration for addressing something, that might seem so little, but it could be really, really detrimental to somebody walking into campus. So thank you for sharing it with us, and I'm happy to hear that he's happy.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, and that concludes our public comments. So we are now at K, communications. 1, written communications to the board. I don't believe we have any written communications, so we will move on. Oh, wait, guys, I'm wrong. The Board of Trustees has one of these in front of them, and those are the written communications to the board. It was in regards to improvements to play area. So board, please take the time to read it. And with that, we'll go to K2, board committee reports. I do not believe we have any updates on this. Actually, under the committee reports, I wanted to discuss, there is a standing committee right now, the Wintersbrook Committee, and our board has changed. Previously to that, the committee was held by Madam Vice President and Trustee Briscoe, since he is no longer with us, I will be taking Mr. Briscoe's position on the Wintersbrook Committee. So the new committee for the Wintersbrook will be Madam Vice President and myself. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that that's the change that's been done to that standing committee. Okay, and with that, we will now go on to number 3, Trustees Communications, Trustee Westwell.
I have no comment at this time.
Okay. Trustee Westmoreland.
I just wanted to thank all of our speakers again. I really enjoyed getting to see the students, watching them sing that song. I look forward to going to see the play. And it really resonated with me hearing that one student talk about speech and debate, because I did speech and debate all growing up, and it's a great transferable skill set. So I'd love to see a 7th grader already understands the value in public speaking and how that can benefit him. And I'm excited for the new year. Welcome back, everybody. I hope everyone had a nice break and fun holidays. And that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, thank you. I too would like to thank our speakers and all our guests that have come tonight. Phenomenal performances. That was, some kids said, that's my favorite song. That was my favorite song too. I love that song from that play. But it's good to be back. It feels normal to be back here again once more. And I'm happy to be back up here serving the people. And yeah, it's interesting that the student would mention the elective as being one of his favorite things, because electives are so important. And it's so important that we're able to offer a robust elective, grouping of electives to our middle school students, because that's where the experience of life comes in. It's good to have math and all the core subjects, but those electives are like the seasoning on the meal. So anyways, thank you.
Okay. Madam Vice President.
Thank you for recognizing me, Madam President.
You're welcome.
I want to, of course, reiterate the wonderful work that our Oakview staff has always done to protect children and to make their learning experience rich and robust. And it was a long, protracted fight for our employees there to make sure that they had clean air for the children to breathe. And, it took literally, the saying it takes a village. Well, it did. It took the teachers, it took the classified staff, the neighbors, it took the principal, it took our attorneys, it took our board. It took the entire city of Huntington Beach to make a difference and make sure that our Oakview children and staff were protected. And, the stellar work of our teachers just shine through again this evening, and showing how they believe in inclusion, full inclusion, and making that possible for kids. It's phenomenal. It's wonderful. And as a parent, that means a lot to me, actually, to know that kids are being cared for. Thank you, Principal Landero, for all you do for making these innovative actions and programs happen. Thank you to our principal, Dr. Gates from Vista View, for being here along with their amazing student who did a great job at the microphone, displaying his skills from debate, from his speech class. That was wonderful. And, lastly, thanks to little Bodie from Oakview and his mom for being here and kind of bringing the whole issue full circle. When his mom, Stacy, had contacted me some time ago about the bells, it wasn't a mystery to me. I knew about it already because when my son started there, and I think it was 2010 or 11, my older son, who's now a senior in high school, one of the things was he came home from school and he said, oh my gosh, the bells are so loud. And he's a little sensitive with issues of, covering his ears and things like that. And it was difficult for him. And so one of the things when we had the asbestos issue at Oakview, we did a lot of remediation, mitigation. We changed the way the school looked, but we didn't change that core bell system. And so when I approached Dr. Conroy about looking into that, he was like, well, that's a bit of a heavy lift, but we'll get it done. He never said no. That's Dr. Conroy. He doesn't say no. He just says, I'll make that happen. You know why? Because it's good for kids. Yes. Just like what Miss Davis said, what's best for kids. So thank you so much to Dr. Conroy, to Mr. Farrow, to everybody that, listened. And when I came with my crazy, ask of, can you change a whole bell system? And you did it. You guys are the best. You did what's best for kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I agree. They always do what's best for kids. So thank you for doing that. Well, I will just say that it is wonderful to be back. It is wonderful to be back serving our community, our students. I know the kids had a rough start yesterday. I know my kids were like, what? I have to go to school? Yes, you got to get up and go to school. They wanted it. Can I stay one more day? No, you got to go to school. Come on, get going. So it was hard. So welcome to our staff, our classified, our teachers. Welcome back. Thank you for all that you're doing every day in the classrooms. We appreciate you. Right before the winter break, I had the opportunity to once again visit some of our wonderful schools and participate in some winter concerts at Westmont. I visited Vista View. I went to Mesa View. It's always wonderful to really see what's happening in the classrooms every day. And so any opportunity I have to be able to do that and highlight the wonderful things that you are all doing, I want to be part of that. So thank you for inviting me. I look forward to continuing to do that in the coming weeks. I want to say thank you to Ms. Landero. Thank you to Dr. Gates for the wonderful presentation and highlighting your schools. Again, it's really important, I think, for the board to remain connected to our schools. It's easy to sometimes get so caught up in the drama that could come with policies on this crazy, but where does it really affect students? And so when we can see it in action and we can see how our decisions can affect the classrooms, I think it really brings it home. So any opportunity we have to continue to do that, I think is important for us to continue to work together. So thank you, thank you, thank you for the good work that you're doing. We appreciate you. And with that, we will move forward. Okay, and we are now at K4, Superintendent's Communications, Dr. Conroy.
Thank you, President Singer. First, I'd like to welcome everybody back from the holidays and hope everyone had a relaxed and enjoyable time with family. Before I get into my comments, I would like to share, as President Singer mentioned, we were able to go to some of the events before the holidays. And one of the opportunities I had was to go to Oakview and read to students. And a lot of the students that were here today were in those class groups that I read to. And in one of those groups, I got a new nickname. They called me Mr. Clean.
Wonder why.
And so when I came back for the student in the group with the pictures, they all, it's you, it's Mr. Clean. So I made some connections with the students at Oak.
Whatever it takes.
That's right. So I would like to begin my comments with a challenge that Principal Landero, who's here this evening, made to her Oakview students. She challenged Oakview students to see how many minutes they could spend on iReady over the winter break. Fifth grade students spent over 30 hours and 13 minutes on iReady and passed 52 iReady lessons. Fourth grade students spent 16 hours and passed 47 lessons, and third grade spent 20 hours and 42 minutes and passed 40 lessons. This is just one example of the tremendous dedication Ocean View School District students have in their own education and learning growth. And if they were all here, I'd give them high fives again. But throughout the district, 4 school sites, Spring, College, Lake, and Mesa, are piloting a reading incentive program called Beanstack, where students engage in school-wide reading challenges. The goal is to create a culture of reading based on unique reading challenges. Some other schools, Circle, College, Harbor, Lake, and Star, are schools that are on target with ST Math monthly goals. These schools are completing opportunities to show growth in acquiring the math skills necessary to be successful at their grade levels. Our schools are providing creative, meaningful, and challenging opportunities for students improving their reading and math skills. It's exciting. I'm very proud of our teachers' dedication to teaching and student learning. I'd like to congratulate Phi Tran, the new CSEA president, and Elizabeth Carr, the new vice president, and their new board. I'm looking forward to continue working with CSEA's new leadership team. You know, earlier this year, we changed our health program to CalPERS and have officially completed our open enrollment period for health benefits for all staff. And I'd like to say a big thank you to Patty Brave for her work with CalPERS and our employees in a successful transition. As our speaker and Bodie came up and talked about the Bell system, I do want to acknowledge our information technology staff William Heyer, Travis Hunter, and Tim Googly, who installed the new bell system at Hopeview. As they said, the old system was very loud and we were unable to adjust a system, and it's been replaced with a modern bell system that is much more pleasing to the ear. The IT team, they researched the bell systems to find one that is current and is able to integrate into the school's existing technology structure. Prior to the winter recess, many of our schools held holiday musical performances and special events. And all the student performances ran smoothly with a lot of parents with happy faces, seeing and hearing their students sing and perform. But I really, at this point, want to give a big shout out to the gentleman over here, Dale Jacobson, for from our IT department, who managed the performances and special events and making sure that school needs were addressed prior to the school events. Most of Dale's work is behind the scenes, but all the sites know that when they need help, they could always count on Dale. So Dale, thank you. Santos Salas, the head custodian at Westmont, and the facilities department PAL rep, and Craig Sample, the maintenance supervisor, have worked collaboratively with the child development programs to address custodial issues for the after-school programs. Both Santos and Craig have brought creative and well thought out options to be considered collaboratively. It's a pleasure to work alongside partners that are vested in a cohesive and united relationship that benefits district initiatives, its workers, and their students. 3 of our district health techs, Rebecca Carr, Beth Lampley, Angie Kessler, are certified Red Cross CPR first aid trainers and have been providing skills assessment portion of the training to staff in December and will continue through February. Their support of staff first aid and CPR certification is much appreciated. These are just a few examples of the outstanding and well-qualified classified employees who can provide necessary support and training to our employees. And that, I thank them. And that concludes my comments for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Conroy. We appreciate it. And yes, I agree. Thank you, Dale. We really do appreciate it. You very, very much. You make sure that our board meetings are streamed and that the public can participate. So we greatly do appreciate all the good work you do for us. And with that, we will move on to K5, PTA, PTO, PTSA, PTSO President's Roundtable. I believe we haven't had a meeting. So, okay, so we don't have a representative tonight. Okay, and with that, we'll go to K6, Employee Associations Communications. We will begin with CSEA.
Good evening, President Singer.
Good evening.
Superintendent Dr. Conroy, members, trustees of the board, executive cabinet, Ocean View community, excuse me, Ocean View's community. My name is Fee Tran, and I am the network system specialist here in the IT department. I am the face of the person who brought you the board meetings for the last 3 years, and I also brought Zoom together for distance learning and Zoom that we still use now. But I am also the newly elected chapter president of Ocean View Chapter 375 California School Employees Association, also known as CSEA. And I am proud to represent, I am one of almost 400 classified professionals that serve our students and community, from the front office staff at the schools to our grounds and maintenance crew, to our librarians, translators, food service custodians, bus drivers and mechanics, para-educators that include instructional assistants, ALC attendants, preschool and kids club educators, our professional staff at the district office here, accounting, payroll, purchasing, personnel, HR, teaching and learning, special ed, our receptionist, our assessment center and building, E, reprographics, print shop, and of course, IT. We are the people who keep Ocean View schools running because we bring it every day. We bring ourselves, we bring our talents, and we bring our love for our students, because that's what we're here for, is our students. I want to quickly introduce the members of our team, the people who are our members have elected to represent us and who we answer to, the members, our executive board for 23-24. Of course, myself as president, we have tonight, I have a couple of members over here. Our chapter treasurer, Sarah Bruce, who is the school office clerk at college, and Dana Moyer, who is the food service worker at Westmont. Our first vice president is as Dr. Conroy mentioned, Elizabeth Carr, and Santos Salas as second vice president, and of course, chapter secretary Brandy Knox, and past president Jason Bozarth, who is very, 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 very happy to be past president. We have a lot to be proud of in Ocean View. 4 of our chapter members serve at the state level. Myself as the chairperson of the communications committee. We have Reka Powar, who is sitting back there. She is the appointee to the awards committee and the 2022 CSEA member of the year, which is the 3rd highest award that you can earn at the state level. And Jason Bozarth was appointed as the research and negotiations committee representative, and Sandy Vaughn is our regional rep and a retiree of Ocean View. So 4 is quite a bit. We are very, very proud. I want to thank past president Jason Bozarth for his service, 6 dedicated years, long years of service to our chapter, to CSE, and to Ocean View. We are realigning our chapter with the ideals that CSE was founded upon: dignity, retirement security, that's the very issue that we were founded on, and respect for our people who serve the students and community of Ocean View every day, who are indispensable. I truly hope for a transformative year for our classified professionals here in Ocean View. I look forward to working with everybody, our community partners, our cabinet, Superintendent Dr. Conroy, our board members, and really everyone in the Ocean View community, our certificated educators, partners, management staff, and everyone here to improve the lives of the people who serve our students, the students themselves who we're here for, and our entire Ocean View community. So with that, that is all I've got.
Thank you very much. Well, congratulations to your new board. Congratulations, the Board of Trustees, and our administration looks forward to working collaboratively with CSCA to ensure that we are doing a good job in representation and that we have honest and transparent conversations. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we will now go to OBTA. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Singer, Board of Trustees, Dr. Conroy, and Cabinet. Speaking on behalf of nearly 400 elementary and middle school teachers, I'm Heidi Webb, OVTA President. I hope you all enjoyed your well-deserved break and are back refreshed and re-energized for the new year. Every year, it seems we come with a different catchphrase. In 2022, it was, what you gonna do in 2022? And now it's, where do you want to be in 2023? And while most of our English teachers are cringing, right, with the whatcha and the gonna and the wanna, it is a good question. Let's ask ourselves, where do we want to be in 2023? And more importantly, what do we have to do to get there? As teachers, we set our goals and our academic targets for the year. But as Dr. Conroy has reminded us on the first day of school, we need to balance our focus on content with our never-ending need to connect with our students, especially these days. And we've seen it so much today. Today has just been a great meeting, right? I love today's meeting. It just showed all the connections that we have. As teachers focus on content and connections with each other, I encourage and challenge the board to do the same. Let's keep up this positive energy and connections we have from tonight. And let's keep that going, that momentum, the positive. Let's make these connections with one another and focus on our goals as a district, built on respectful connections with one another as colleagues, with our students. We may not always agree, but we can always be kind. As we say in bargaining, let's be hard on the issues, soft on the people. It's a new year. Let's focus on constant and never-ending improvement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we are at L, reports, and we don't have any reports tonight. So yay. We are now to M, consent calendar. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. It's been moved and second, and we'll go to the vote. Okay, Trustee Westwell. Aye. Trustee Westmoreland.
Aye.
Mr. Clerk.
Aye.
Madam Vice President.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. It passes 5-0 unanimously. Okay, and we are now at I will just remind the public that the Board of Trustees, before adopting the agenda or through a substitute motion, pulled item N1. So we will see it at a later time, so we won't discuss it. We will now go to O1. Superintendent's Office proposed additions, revisions to Board Policy Administrative Regulation Series 5000, Students Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 5141.21, administering medication and monitoring health condition is before us for the first reading and information. So this would be a good opportunity, Board, if you've had a time to review it and suggest any corrections, this would be the time to do that. So I will open up the discussion. If you would like to be recognized, please raise your hands and I will do so. Yes, Trustee Westwell. And if I may ask you to please just tell me the page number that you would like me to reference, that would be great. Thanks.
That's to do with medical cannabis and students. Recommendation to strike that paragraph. Spot in federal law. The federal government ignores our federal laws down at the border. You know, we can pay attention to some federal laws and other ones we don't have to pay attention to as well. On page 65. New paragraph about your self-administration. It says such written statement shall be in English and Spanish. Is this a statutory requirement that we do this in Spanish or duplicate part?
Dr. Conroy.
I'm going to refer this to Dr. Hofer.
Okay, Dr. Hofer.
This is an statutory 2022 legislative session. A written statement specified in this subparagraph shall be provided in both English and Spanish. This is brand new language that wasn't there in 2016 or 2019.
That's in the Health and Safety Code 1351.2.
It's an Ed Code 49423 point
Sorry, say it.
49423.1.
Okay, that answered that question. I am okay, that'll do for this one. I have questions. So that's all I have to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on this?
I have a few things.
Okay, go ahead,
Um,
Trustee Westmoreland.
On page 61, I'm wondering where it says medication may include not only a substance dispensed in the United States by prescription, but also a substance that does not require a prescription. Are we going to require something written by a healthcare provider saying that we need to be giving nutritional supplements or herbal remedies to students at school? I feel like if we're administering them at school, we should have some sort of something in writing from an HCP saying we should be. We do.
Dr. Hofer, I believe and you can correct me if I'm wrong, when you keep reading this, it actually goes into a little bit further details on what is required to do that, but go ahead, Dr. Hofer.
That is in the definition, so it expands beyond prescription medication, but we do require an authorized healthcare provider.
Okay. And I apologize if I missed that. I just wanted to make sure. And then there was on page 69, where it says that the principal or designee at each school may designate one or more volunteers. I'm wondering, will there be some sort of requirement? So if you have a volunteer designated that is able to administer a medication and that person were to be absent, will we make sure we have a couple that are designated? I just wonder if we should change the verbiage just to make sure that's clear. And then my only other recommendation would be 70 and 71, two different times. It says if we were to use an epi auto injector, that they have up to 2 weeks to restock. And I'm just wondering on that time frame as well. I have concerns that if we're using something that it not being available within 2 weeks may be too long. And those are my only comments.
Dr. Hofer, can you address some of those questions?
Yes, so in looking at the designee on page 69, one or more volunteers, we have staff members, office staff who is trained. Typically, our coaches are oftentimes trained, so it really does vary. I would be hard pressed to say we have school that only has one, that it is multiple staff members serving in different roles. I do believe on page 71, the 2 weeks is how long it takes us. So we have a standing order that allows us to have the EpiPens on site when one is used, and we only have 14, one for each school. So when one is used, we're able to replace it. I would have to research to see how long that really takes. I mean, I think it kind of depends on the supply chain situation. But we don't have a standing order to have more than one per site. And our standing order does not permit one at the district office.
Okay.
So we don't have an extra, I guess is what I'm saying, on hand.
Gotcha. Okay. I just have concerns about that. And so if we have a student identified as a child that may be at risk that should have an EpiPen on hand, are we asking that student to bring an EpiPen that we're storing in the nurse's office?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, yes, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Without addressing the discrepancy between federal and state law, in reference to page 57, Trustee Westwell comments on the medicinal cannabis and the board prohibiting the administration of medicinal cannabis to students on school grounds by parents or guardians on school personnel. What is that all about? Would there ever be a case that we would actually administer medicinal marijuana to a student on campus? Wouldn't that effectively change their ability to learn? Shouldn't there a better place it would be for them to be at home after that? And it's like giving someone a shot of whiskey and saying, all right, back to class with you.
So state law does permit the board to determine whether or not medicinal cannabis can be administered on school site. It's not administered by school personnel. It is administered by parents. However, as we did our research, it would take a great deal. Well, the recommendation is to move forward with that decision very cautiously and carefully with additional legal consultation. So where we stand is just as you've stated. A parent can pick up their child, take them home and administer it.
I get
We
what you're
don't know
saying.
the difference.
I think we should just prohibit the administration, period. Regardless of whether it's state legally, or it's legal by the state or legal by the federal government. Does this indemnify us? Does the state indemnify us over any kind of accidental damage to the child when they're high out of their minds after the parents send them back to school, having administered medical marijuana?
For this, it's really about the administration. So this board policy outlines those things that we will administer on school site. And it does say that we will not, as a district, the board will take action to say we will not permit medicinal cannabis to be administered on school grounds.
Yeah, so I think the state and federal thing is, I mean, I think we should take the stance of not administering it at all. I mean, that's my view on it, but anyways. I'm surprised it's in there.
Is that your only, are you done with comments?
Yeah, I mean, I can't understand what they can't take epinephrine, but they can bring, I mean, some of that stuff's strong. I mean, I can't even imagine that's state law. It's crazy. Whatever.
Okay.
I'm not against marijuana use. I'm just like, kids at school, come on.
Madam Vice President, go ahead.
So in my experience as a classroom teacher over the past 26 years, I have come across students that have had severe epilepsy, where their parents have come to the conclusion that having using the typical medications or having a stimulator in the brain, there's all different kind of remedies or hopeful remedies to epilepsy. And then they come with information about medicinal marijuana or CBD products, which are byproducts of marijuana, of the cannabis plant, I should say, not marijuana, cannabis plant. And and I don't want to give specifics, but basically the parents were asking to administer that medication to the child because there was literally no hope for this child. So there are cases where this is applicable. I'm not saying we need to do it. I'm just saying it exists. And the child was deemed not to be intoxicated or high because it's a CBD product, but anything that's even CBD is considered to be cannabis. So, unless we have a different definition, there could be a conflict here. You might want to check into that, Superintendent, just to be sure. And get maybe a little bit more legal advice on it. But it'll be the will of the board.
And we are prohibiting it, so.
Yeah. Just food for thought there.
Yes, Trustee Westwell.
And this is going to come up several times with me between federal and state. The state of California has legalized marijuana. That's a fact. So in California, they can do it. And parents know what's best for their children more than this board. And so I trust those kind of decisions with parents. And I understand some of the reasoning that the board may have not to do this, but the fact remains it is a state legal product. And as far as the federal part of this, I'm going to keep reminding this board over and over about the 10th Amendment to the Constitution. We all swore to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. The 10th Amendment says that everything enumerated in the Constitution is authorized by the Constitution. All the things enumerated in it, the federal government. If the 10th Amendment says if it is not written down in the Constitution, the federal government has no authority. And education is not mentioned in the Constitution. And so the Department of Education is an unauthorized federal government agency. They have no authority over us here locally. And so I'm going to keep bringing the 10th Amendment to the attention of the board every time these kind of conflicts come up. We need to comply with state law. We need to have the flexibility that the state gave our parents for our students. I agree. This is going to come up like once every never. So we're arguing about something that may never happen, but you know what? It's been my experience that these things that we tend to ignore, those are what bite us in the butt. And so I'm going to argue in favor of striking this out or modifying it in some way that makes it more appealing. But I don't think it is right to just do an outright ban because the state has authorized it. But that concludes my comments.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to say that I think that Dr. Conroy can have legal look a little bit further into this to make sure there's no conflict. And then this is just before us for the first reading. So this is a good opportunity to research a little bit more, bring it back, and we can have a little bit more information on it. The way I read it, it clearly says that we're prohibiting the administration in our school sites. We're not telling parents what to do at home or how to send their kids to school. If the parent decides that this is something that's feasible for their students. So I'm not going to go in circles in this. So if we could just have administration research a little bit more, find out about the 2-week turnaround, because I think that's a concern, and then bring this back. I think that would be productive. Okay, we're going to move on.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead.
And I'm probably gonna look stupid, but on page 65 about this English-Spanish thing, English capitalized and Spanish capitalized proper nouns. Is that the right way to do it? Okay.
Yes.
All right, it's been a while. I wasn't a great English student. So
No worries.
thank you.
It's proper. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we are now going to move on to O2, Superintendent's Office, proposed additions, revisions to Board Policy Administrative Regulations, Series 6000, Instruction, Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 6020, Parent Involvement is before us for the first reading and information. So I'm going to go ahead and open the discussion. If you like to be recognized, I'm sorry. Let's make a motion, and if we can have a second, then we'll open discussion. Is there a motion? It's actually before us for information, so I do not need any motions. Come on, guys. Can you guys not interrupt me? Because it's messing my flow, Trustee Westwell. Please, please. All right, let me just be the chair for a hot second, okay? All right, let's go back to it. It's before us for information. There is no need for any motions. Now let's just have a discussion, okay? So if you'd like to have any feedback on this, go ahead and raise your hand. I will recognize you and we can go for it. Is there any discussion on this? Go ahead, Trustee Westwell. Go ahead, sir.
How much do we receive for compliance with 20 USC 6318? It's kind of a root of it. So this is the federal money that we're bringing in. And I think we talked about this before, you mentioned million. Is that accurate? Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, and I'll defer this to Dr. Hofer. She can give you some more details.
Okay. Dr. Hofer, help us out here.
We received, I was trying to, well, I have all this backup, so I apologize. We receive approximately $1.9 million in federal funding.
Good. And as I mentioned before, the 10th Amendment to the Constitution doesn't mention education anywhere in it, or nowhere in the Constitution. And the 10th Amendment says that if it's not in there, then it's not part of the federal government. I believe our school district, and just about every other school district, is addicted to federal dollars. And they're unconstitutional federal dollars. And they're dangling this money out here in front of us that we desperately can use and need. Then they put all these strings attached to it. They go out like tentacles, and we lose our local control. And, you know, if this federal money was making a difference, a measurable difference that I could observe, I would not be opposed to not taking this money. But I can't see where this money is helping this district and has not helped the district for a while. I can't see doing the same thing over and over and over. And quite frankly, the tentacles and the restrictions and the requirements that they put in here is intolerable for me now. It's simply intolerable. They're having us treat parents and guardians and family all the same, where we used to have a one point of contact, a parent or guardian. Now, all through this document, they're saying parent, guardian, / family, parent, guardian / family, parent, guardian and family. So now we have to not only collaborate with a parent or guardian, now we have to work with their entire family, which is undefined. We don't know what a family is. Is it 1? Is it 10? Is it 100? I don't know. But it's going to cost us a lot more money to deal with all these families. And so in the concept, I like this. I think we need the money. We sure can use it, but I think we're addicted to it. And I don't think it's making any difference in this district. And so if the state wants us to do this stuff, I'm sure the state will provide the dollars, but I am loath now. And I'm just telling the board, I am loath to pay $1, even Title I money that comes from the federal government, because they're unauthorized to give it to us. And I just think we're simply addicted to this money and it's harming us. We've lost local control because of this. So I'll be voting against this. And the biggest reason, I say once more, is all these family members are included in all this. So we have to involve family members along with parents and guardians, and that's a bridge too far. Thank you.
Okay, let me just remind the board, I want to make sure there's no confusion. There is no vote happening here. We're just discussing this policy that is coming before us for us to have the opportunity to make revisions. There might be some language variances. This has been vetted. It meets federal guidelines and requirements, educational codes. This is a good opportunity for us to read this policy and make sure we understand it. There is no vote happening tonight. We are just going over the first reading and making sure that we all understand it. So with that in mind, I asked all of us to stay on subject. We're talking about just this specific item right now. So is there any discussion on this specific item? Rest of the board? Any questions? You weren't. I didn't say you were, sir. No. No, absolutely not. I will add that as someone that read this and highlighted some sections, I think there might just be a little bit of misunderstanding. I think when it says parent, family, guardian, it's identifying sometimes you have a child and that child has a mom and a dad and they register the child. For example, in my household, I register my student to go into school. I am the parent guardian. All of the informations get sent to me. If they go to my husband, it's not going to open them. So I know it's me that gets all the notices. I list him as the father, but the main point of contact is me. I am the guardian of that child. I get the notifications, whether they're doing their homework, whether they're all of those. And so the district is not contacting my mother, my father, my in-laws, my sisters, which believe me, in my Mexican family, there's like 45 of us. That's not happening. I'm getting one email. It's been sent to me, the guardian of that child, and that's it. And it's coming home in the language I've chosen, English or Spanish. So one notice in the language that I picked. So I think this is just trying to be more inclusive, that some kiddo might not have a mom and a dad, but it's a guardian, or that it might be somebody else, like an uncle that is the legal guardian of that child. And so I think we're getting a little too deep into the definition of this. So this is not going to cost us any extra money. It's just the definition of who's in charge of that child. I don't have any concerns with this myself, and in seeing that there are no other concerns, I'm going to move on. Actually, never mind. I'm going to say something really quick. On page 78, it says under paragraph D, it says provide copies of working drafts of the plan to parents, guardians in an understandable and informed uniform format, and to the extent practical in a language the parent guardians can understand. I was a little bit concerned with the extent practical, because what if you don't find it that it's practical to send it in Spanish, but the mom only speaks Spanish and you really should be sending it to them in Spanish. So I think I like to strike that out and say that you should be sending it to in the proper language that family understands. Not when it's feasible, not when it's convenient, at all times. So if the mom and dad have identified that they need it in Spanish, Vietnamese, whatever language, it should go in that language. So I'd like to see us strike that word out if possible.
Madam.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
So I would say I feel like I'm one of the biggest champions of multiculturalism, of inclusion, of all the things that we deem to be dear to us in the United States of America, being a mosaic of people from all over the world. But I will tell you that it may not be feasible to translate everything, because we don't necessarily have someone on hand that can translate documents into Arabic, let's say, which we have quite a robust population of Coptic folks from Egypt. I do know that when my older child first started school, and he was in the English learner program because we had been living in Europe prior, and his dad, my ex-husband, is a Croatian national, and my child's form said Serbo-Croatian. That's the technical name for the language. And I didn't get forms home for my ex-husband to read in Serbo-Croatian because it's not feasible. So I would just like to caution that sometimes it truly isn't feasible to translate.
Okay.
But if, in our district, we have, I guess, the two biggest subpopulations of language speakers would be Spanish and Vietnamese. And I know that our staff tries really hard and does a great job and has improved over the years in getting those documents home. Where I work in the ABC Unified School District, they go home in Korean and in Chinese, Mandarin, they go home in Spanish and English, but there are many other languages that they could go home in, like Farsi and Pashto and Urdu, but they just don't because it's not feasible. So I think that the policy actually is written in a proper way.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. I would like us to just take that in consideration. Doesn't mean it needs to change, but I guess my concern where it's coming from is this. Obviously, I'm not asking you for it to be in Croatia or anything crazy, but if the mom only speaks Spanish, that it go in Spanish. If the mom only speaks Vietnamese, and so maybe some selective languages that predominantly we have the ability to translate, it would be something that I would consider. It doesn't have to be, obviously, ultimately it's the will of the board. This is just my suggestions. And that's it. Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
I think the spirit of this administrative regulation is to give us some legal cover. If you say that we're going to send it home in whatever language they speak at home, then we are obligated to send it home in that language.
Got it.
Which might mean we'd have to go out and find a translator at sometimes that could not be found or at really great expense. But we have Ukrainian students in our district right now.
Mhm.
And I don't know how many people around us actually speak Ukrainian and English at the same time. So
Okay.
those types of things, it's more like, I know that we already as a district do a phenomenal job trying to put things in other languages. And I'm sure that if we could find a resource to do it, we would do it. As a board member, I would vote for that.
Mhm.
But I think it's kind of the whole idea here is, if we don't have that resource available, we don't want to get beat up legally, like, oh, well, it says you have to, now I'm going to sue you.
Got it.
That kind of thing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Yes, trustee Westwell.
So just to go over this,
Mhm.
make sure we're all on the same page. My biggest concerns are the requirements that are in 20 USC 6312 with regards relates to parent/guardian and family. I'm concerned about and family. Don't have a problem with us handling family members and accommodating them. I have a problem with it being in policy. Well, we can go above and beyond in this district, what's required in policy.
Mhm.
So I'm just concerned about putting the family in now. Next one, page 76. The top paragraph there.
76.
Talks about parents, guardians shall be notified of the policy in an understandable and uniform format. Okay.
Mhm.
If we compare that board policy paragraph to the page 78.
Okay.
Item D, that's the same, it's redundant, so we only need one of those in there. So staff could look at that. And then if we go to page 84. Item E, I believe that's the same language again, it's redundant, so we don't need to keep saying the things over and over and over that are the same. So staff could look at that and decide whether it belongs to the AR or the VPs that all should do at once, in my opinion. And here's one, a suggestion. We can't make changes in the AR, so I'd just like to make a suggestion for language on page 85, item D. Says train parents and guardians to enhance the involvement of other parents and guardians. I think training parents is a lot more to use there. I'd like to suggest we use something like endeavor to educate. I think it's a lot more pleasant language, and in my effort to be more pleasant, I'd like to make that suggestion. That's what I think.
So you're suggesting to take the word out, train out and say educate parents, guardians to
Well,
enhance
endeavor to educate.
or something?
Pleasant language. And then I just saw this too on page 86, item O. Says provide ongoing workshops to assist school site staff, parents and guardians, and then and family. I want to get rid of that and family everywhere. But I think the parents and guardians and school site staff should be transposed because parents have higher priority than staff, and that's just a little pet peeve of mine in language. Board policy is what we do here. This is our number 2 goal.
Mhm.
Of what we do here on the board is policy, and language really does matter. And so I don't mind going through all this prickly, sticky stuff on little small things, because in the end, little transposition can make a big difference, or a comma can make a big difference. And so while it seems wonky to a lot of people, this is our job. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Madam Vice President, go ahead.
Thank you. I think that I understand Trustee Westwell's concern, but I would like to make a point about the fact that some students do not live with their parent or even with their guardian. And it's no fault of their own. Sometimes it's due to death. Sometimes it's due to incarceration of their parent or their guardian. Sometimes, and many students that we know in our community live with their grandparent, live with their aunts, live with their uncles, live with cousins, even live with family friends, so that they're housed. And so I don't think that we should strike families. I think that would be a mistake. And I think these policies come to us already vetted, go through a process. They're rooted in the Ed Code. And I believe the state of California has a pretty good handle on the legal terminology we should be using. So I would caution against removing the word families. Thank you.
I'm sorry, yes, what was the last one?
The word families. Okay, I think we've discussed it enough. I think there were just a couple of little minor things we wanted to look into a little bit more. I'll take back my suggestions. I heard very clearly why you need that flexibility. Thank you for educating me. I appreciate it. So I'm fine with the way it is. I don't need to make any corrections. I do agree with taking the word out, train, and putting the word something along the lines of educating. I think that is a little bit nicer way of saying it. So, okay. And with that, we will move on. So let us go now to next item. O3, correct? Let's see. O3, Superintendent's Office proposed additions, revisions to board policy, administrative regulations, series 6,000. Instruction, board policy and administrative regulation 6171, Title I programs is before us for a first reading and information. So if you have any discussion, please raise your hand and I will assign you the floor. Yes, Trustee Westwood.
On the same issue with this federal code and here with the families, obviously. I'm on page 94.
Okay.
Board. During the Board of Trustees shall regularly monitor the progress of economically disadvantaged and low income students entitled during the annual evaluation. I asked Dr. Conroy when this annual evaluation is, and it's done usually in mid-June. I would like to suggest that we put a date range in there so that we all know when that annual evaluation is. And during that evaluation, over on the next page, goes on to say achievements, school attendance, and other outcomes for such students, and shall ensure strategies are revised as necessary to support continuous improvement. So in mid-June, this board is going to sit down and we're going to do an evaluation and come up with strategies for improvement. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page when that's going to happen, because there's been some uncertainty in the past of when this actually takes place. So with that, I said it. I just want to make sure we all know that it's in mid-June.
I believe we always get an LCAP presentation, and that's usually when we evaluate these things, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Trustee Westwell is correct. Mid-June, we give a draft report of the LCAP, and then at the end of June, at the last board meeting of the year, the board adopts and approves the LCAP plan. Subsequent to that, we will be providing some updates, LCAP updates to the board. So there are benchmarks before we get to that, and I can have Dr. Hofer address that.
Yes, we typically do the way we've been structuring it. In about January, we talk about our stakeholder engagement efforts, how we're listening to our community, our staff, our board, and solicit. We kind of talk about the structure there. Then generally about March, we do a presentation on the annual update. So we begin to go through those measures that the board has adopted within the LCAP. Within each of our 3 goals, there are progress monitoring actions, measuring and reporting results. There's a metric, a baseline, and then our outcomes for each year, with a desired outcome by the time the LCAP is done in a 3-year cycle. So this is the 2nd year in the 3-year cycle. We report that information in addition to the other items that we, the other presentations that we do within Ed Services. So for instance, at the next meeting, we'll do a California School Dashboard State Indicators presentation that does include language arts achievement, math achievement, English learner progress, chronic absenteeism, and suspension. So there are, it's included in our LCAP and we do those presentations along the way with the disaggregated data.
All right, I just want to make sure that in mid-June, when this comes before us, that that is going to be the proper time for the board to ensure that strategies are revised. That's when we're going to revise them in mid-June. Is that correct?
That is correct, because when we build the LCAP, we have a public hearing, the first meeting in June. That's when we would formally change the LCAP for the subsequent year. It's board approved at the end of June and it goes into effect July 1st.
So first meeting is June is where we would be revising our strategies in the LCAP. Is that correct?
We can revise the strategies before that. If the board decides they want some additional metrics, some different metrics, we would begin to capture that to ensure that we capture it here correctly, because we set a baseline and we have the ability to do what is requested by the Board of
So
Trustees.
that has to be done before beginning of June.
So if
We're getting into a little timeline here, and I don't mean to be confusing you, but I'm trying to pin us down on exactly when the board makes changes to the LCAP. If we don't do it at the very end, after all, everyone's met and it comes before us, that's not the time to make changes. Board needs to do it ahead of time. We strategize and we come together as a board, say, this is what we need to be doing. So I'm trying to pin us down. When does that take place? Because that's when the strategies are revised according to this policy. We live out a policy. So I'm trying to pin us down to a date when this occurs, this paragraph at the top of page 95.
so prior to June, we will be providing the board with two separate LCAP updates, which will give the board the opportunity to provide input to address what strategies we're using, the metrics that we're using. And if the board wants to change those, if they want to add something, that will be the time prior to June. So there'll be two opportunities before we get to June for the board to have that conversation.
Perfect. And Madam President, can you remind us or have the superintendents remind us that when that time comes up, that this is the time for the board to make changes in the LCAP, so we're all. That's all I ask.
We will make sure that that happens. In all the years I've served here, that has been the progress. We get updates. It comes before us for a first look in. We get to put some input in it, then it comes back again, and then it finally gets approved. So that's been the cycle that we go through. So I'm confident that we will continue to do that.
My experience has been different, so I look forward to this new project. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other feedback on this? Okay, we're going to move on. So we are now at 04, Administrative Services Agreement for Consultant Arborist Services and Related Full Service Tree Care is before us for action. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, let me just remind you, we previously discussed this back and forth, and this is now coming before us to approve it. We've gone back and forth. We've had Mr. Farrow answer questions on it. So I'm hoping that we can go to the vote on this. Is there any discussion? Yes, Mr. Trustee Westwell, go ahead. No. Okay.
About this.
Okay.
It's a per hour rate. Those are all blank. And it's been non-applicable, in terms of not applicable. I guess they're saying the whole chart is not applicable. I would think that they should put non-applicable in all of these dollar amounts so that they can't be filled in later. I understand Dr. Colton and Dr. Conroy told us that the schedule that they will be using is the one on page 120. So I don't even know what the need is for this exhibit B here on page 119. If there's zero charges, why don't we just eliminate that whole page 119? Can someone please convince me that it should remain like that?
Dr. Conroy, can you please provide some feedback?
I'm going to refer this to Mr. Farrow, who could provide some additional insight that I wasn't able to provide Trustee Westwell when we spoke.
Okay, Mr. Farrow, go ahead.
This was a document prepared by staff. And so we had to create a schedule of fees that we thought was appropriate for the tree trimming service industry. Now, they instead created an exhibit B, which was a per hourly rate rather than by tree size or trees or whatnot. Now, this was a sealed bid So we are not able to go through and tell them, oh, you need to change this because it was a sealed bid and with, other bids.
Okay. That's for the bid, but this isn't a bid anymore.
Well, let me clarify. Pages up to this page, and if we look at it's from page 1. So from page 1 to page 10, this is part of the RFP that the contractor had to fill out for their bid process. So this was the actual part of the form. And so they couldn't change any of this because this is what we asked for. They provided the page on 11 of 16 or page 120 as their fee structure. And this is what we accepted the bid on.
I understand. And it says on here on page 119, the terms are NA, non-applicable. I guess that's signed by R or something, JSR. So that explanation satisfied me. And that's all I have on that. Thank you.
I don't have any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, we're good. So we're going to go ahead and go to the vote. Okay, Trustee Westwell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Trustee Westmoreland?
Aye.
Mr. Clerk?
Aye.
Madam Vice President?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. It passes 5-0 unanimously. Okay,
Can I ask a second?
sure.
Motion was Souders and the second was Westmoreland.
Mhm. We are now at 05, Administrative Services Agreement for Consulting with National Fire Protection Association and NFPA 72 Fire Alarm Systems Monitoring, Inspection, Testing, Maintenance, and On-Call Services is before us for action. Same thing, we've discussed this before. We've asked plenty of questions. This is before us now for action. Is there any discussion?
I'll move.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We'll go to the vote. Trustee Westwell, how do you vote? Sorry, is there any discussion? I hope not. We've discussed it quite extensively last time we were here. So, okay, but anyways, is there any discussion? No? Okay. There was a motion and a second, and we'll go to the vote now. Trustee Westwell, how do you vote? Trustee Westmoreland?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Aye.
Madam Vice President?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. It passes 5-0 unanimously. Okay, and we are now at 06, Administrative Services Antenna Site Lease and Access Agreement between Ocean View School District, Orange County, and Pendulum Property Partners at One Pacific Plaza is before us for action. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Yes, Trustee Westwell.
Increasing our rent 10%, $641. It's up to 7,702 months. I know a year. We're going to escalate that. I have concerns that technology is moving forward with the fiber optics. Fiber optics have been put in everywhere in and we can, I believe that we're going to all of our schools by now. I think the technology we're using on this single antenna with Peter, the dying technology, I believe we're only picking up the school buses at this time. You know, every technology that comes around, it goes up, it lives, and then it dies. And I believe that this old dying technology that we should be looking to get out of, I would suggest using cell phones. You know, a lot of people have cell phones. It may be cheaper just to give our people cell phones and use their own cell phones to communicate within the district. I'm just concerned that we're not utilizing the fiber optics like we should. It's quicker, faster, better. There's no single point failure. And we can use it for lots of different stuff. And that's where everything's going right now. It's going away from repeaters and antennas. And so that's my only concern. I'm going to approve this tonight, but I would like the staff to take a look at alternatives to our internet access and see if we can't get a better deal someplace. Because I think the technology is going to go away sooner than later. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. I believe that, again, this is This is really important. We use it for an emergency for our radios to be able to communicate throughout the district. If cell towers were to go down and our sites could not communicate in between each other, that would be really dangerous. So though I understand the fiber optic point, I happen to have fiber optic home. It is actually not all the way throughout HB yet. It's getting there, but I do know that some of my friends that are looking forward to being able to access it. You know, I think this is a safe bet. It's always good. There's been sections of HB that I'll drive through and I lose complete reception. And I can't think of an emergency situation where our staff could not communicate to, you know, these are all the radios that you see on school sites. We use this way to be able to communicate. So I think it's kind of dangerous to not have those as a backup. So that's just my opinion on it. Dr. Conroy, do you have anything to add on this? Do you think this is something we should walk away from?
Not at this point, but I would like to have Dr. or Mr. Farrell. I just promoted him.
I know. Great to
provide
Dr.
some additional
Farrell.
input.
That was easy.
So you are correct about the system is for emergencies. It is actually used every day at every school site also in communication with the custodian, in communication with even special ed uses it, you know, to keep track of students and whatnot. It also our repeater on that building has battery backup. So in the event that there was a large power failure in Huntington Beach, we would still be able to communicate to all of our school sites. It is part of our drills also.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Just out of curiosity, where is that building again? I know it mentions it, but I don't know where that is.
It's over there by Bellaterra, kind of across the street from Costco.
That's what I thought. Okay.
You know where that BJ's restaurant is? Right there. Yes, Trustee Westwell.
Battery backup was one of my things. The Verizon Fios, they provide battery backup as well. Just to compare apples to apples. There are other schools in more rural districts that operate their buses and stuff without radios. One of the things that the cellular carriers provide is a push to talk, like a walkie-talkie right on your phone. So just doot, and it goes out to everybody's phones and works just like a walkie-talkie. And so these are some of the technologies that I think are worth exploring. Like I said, I'll be voting yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Madam Vice President, go ahead.
So I happen to be one of the teachers at my own school site that has a radio. Some of us have it. If you're the building leader, or you're the grade level leader, or you're the department chair, you have them, and we use them for emergencies, for drills. I listen to it all day. It's like radio chatter with the police. It's kind of like that. And actually in an emergency, you can hear the sheriff, the LA County Sheriff, through certain channels. And so I don't know what we do here at Ocean View if we can hear the police, but I believe we can. So there's I think if we wanted to be really careful and make sure that we're doing the right thing, you might want to contact Huntington Beach Police Department or the fire department and say, hey, do you guys advise that we get rid of this system? And I'm going to just venture to say, they're going to say, no, you need to keep it. It's the way that we keep our schools, our students, and our staff safe.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to finish discussion and we're going to go to the vote. Are you ready? Okay, Trustee Westwell. Trustee Westmoreland. Mr. Clerk.
Aye.
Madam Vice President.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. It passes 5-0 unanimously. Okay, we are now at 07, Administrative Services Improvement Engagement Agreement between Ocean View School District of Orange County and Noby and Martin's Olson and Bear LLP for trademark services is before us for action. I'm very pleased to see this before us.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this? Go ahead, Madam Vice President.
I want to say thank you to our staff for getting this done. This was a project of Trustee Briscoe, actually. He really wanted this to get done for many years because he was worried about somebody misusing our logo and the name, and we've seen that happen. Now that this will be trademarked, it won't be a public entity, let's say, or it won't be a public image that anyone can just use. And so I think it's a great thing. And we're talking about this right here on the wall. So we're talking about our logo right here. That's going to be trademarked if we move forward with this and look into getting this done and having legal counsel work on it. So I think it's great. Thank you so much. Thanks on behalf of former Trustee Briscoe as well.
Okay, any other discussion? Yes, Trustee Westwell.
I'm opposed to this item. following reason.
Okay,
You better use this $11,000 for academic achievement. You don't have anybody currently fighting us over this logo. Public entity, owned by the public. Public owns that logo. Now, we want to take it over for ourselves and even claim it against the public. Public tax dollars own that logo. If the public wants to use it, they should be able to do it. If we want to sue them for trademark or for copyright use, we could do that. But I don't think this is a good idea. If we went ahead and did this and got the trademark and it was awarded to us and someone did go ahead and start using our logo, like a trustee running for election, we would have to sue that person. Is that really where this board wants to go? Start suing potential candidates or other public people in the public for our public logo? I think it sends a real bad message. As far as trademarks goes, I've done trademarks before, and when they're considered, the trademark people, they use the first, they look at who used it first. We've been using this for a very, very long time. So even if someone contested it, if someone else applied for this trademark before us, they would have to go search and look for other people using the Ocean View School District logo and the words, because that's what they're applying for. Well, they're going to find out that we've been using that first. And so they're going to get denied that if we start challenging them because we actually did it first. So I think this is a waste of $11,000 until someone challenges us. Once somebody challenges us, well, then we can go to court and start, doing all the stuff that we need to do because we did indeed use it first. And so for those reasons, I'll be opposed to spending $11,000 not going to student achievement. Thank you.
thank you. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
I agree with Trustee Westwell on this one. I think that we could use the $11,000 elsewhere. I just find it unnecessary, in my opinion. It seems like we've been using it for a long time and we haven't had any issues or anyone pushing back. So I'll be voting no too for that reason.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Okay, well, my point and my opinion on this is that any other company, you have a logo, it usually gets trademark. You don't want anybody else accusing you of using your business or your motto inappropriately. And it opens us, in my opinion, if this is something that belongs to us, we should tell the public it belongs to the Ocean View School District and it should be used in the proper format. It is, in my opinion, something that does belong to us because we've been using it for quite some time, but we've actually never done the proper paperwork to notify the public of such. And so I think to say that we could potentially go out and sue somebody, how? We've never trademarked it. We never said, hey, this actually belongs to us. You shouldn't be using it inappropriately. So for those reasons, I do think it's important. This is a business. We serve kids, but it is a business and we should be doing practice of businesses. And part of this is this. So I support this. I think it's not a bad thing to do. So with that, I will go ahead, Trustee Westwell.
Well, I have to disagree with you, Madam President. This is not a business. You're not a business. You're a government agency. This talks about branding a logo. You brand a logo when you're a business, so another business doesn't infringe on your image. You don't want any confusion. Because you're engaged in commerce. We're not engaged in commerce. We are not a business. We are publicly owned by the public. And once again, we've never had a problem. We've used it first. There's been no challenges to this point. I think even if we were challenged, we would easily win based on my experience in trademarks. And so I think the $11,000 is much, much better spent on getting our students back to grade level from this COVID thing. I want to spend every dollar we can to bring our academic achievement up. If we need to worry about logos and stuff like that, we can do it once we've been challenged. But since we haven't been challenged, there's no reason to spend on this. Thank you.
Okay, so we are, again, thank you for your opinion on it. I can tell you that I've seen our logo and our brand be used in an appropriate manner, not once, but many times. In fact, our Oakview community was abused by a parent group that used our logo and made it sound to the parents like it was coming from the Ocean View School District. Those parents were confused. They didn't speak the language. They didn't understand it. And we had to go into, this is not an official document. That Ocean View School District is not providing this information to you. It was actually really confusing for that community to understand it. It's because they saw the logo and they saw our name, that they automatically assumed that it was coming from the district office. And it is our responsibility to protect our community, to ensure that they're not being lied to or in any way misled. And so to me, that's part of the concern, is that we want to make sure whatever information is presented to the public, in fact, if it has our logo, it's coming from the official district and not just random people. So because of that, we're going to move on. We're going to go to the vote. Are you ready? Trustee Westwell, how do you vote? Okay. Trustee Westmoreland?
No.
Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Aye.
Madam Vice President?
Aye.
And on my aye, it passes 3-2 with Trustee Westwell and Ms. Westmoreland in opposition. Okay, we're moving on. 08, Educational Services, Amendment Number 1 to the Independent Contractor Agreement between Ocean View School District of Orange County and Boys and Girls Club of Huntington Valley for Expanded Learning Opportunities Program at Oakview. It's before us for action. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Trustee Westwell, go ahead.
The, our ELO, fund.
Dr. Hofer? Go ahead.
ELOG is one-time funding that was board approved on May 25th, 2021. ELOG, the one-time funding, was $5,256,304. This item, the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, ELOP, let's just make it really confusing, only change the last letter, is for the 9-hour school day that is on an ongoing basis. This year, we were allocated $5,773,699 for ELOP.
Funding source for ELOP?
State funding.
Is there any federal funding?
No,
Discretionary.
no.
What else can ELOP funds be used for?
It is used to create a 9-hour day for unduplicated pupils. Unduplicated pupils are kiddos who live in economic poverty, students who are mastering English, and foster youth. And it is used to create that 9-hour day for 180 days, plus an additional 30 days at 9-hour days.
That's what we're currently doing.
We are in the pilot year.
Can those funds be used for other things?
No.
And if we comply or not comply with Education Code 43522.
Board,
And I'm sorry, I didn't ask this ahead of time. I don't know if I asked Dr. Conroy, because I can't remember, we talked about a lot of stuff. I'm just going to withdraw that right now because I don't know what we're talking about. I'm sure it was a question, but I don't have enough information to ask you an intelligent question.
I have it with me. That is in response to the ELOG. So it's the wrong ed code.
Okay.
That's just because of this confusion with the name.
I understand. I went through it. And this is coming to us because of 8130. Right? Or no? Yeah.
Let me look that up. It's ed code 46120.
All right, and I think. Voting yes, thank you.
Okay, Madam Vice President, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President, for recognizing me.
You're welcome.
Couple questions, but first I'd like to say that I am never a proponent of contracting out work from our labor groups. I'm opposed. I think that our own employees are best for our students. But I understand that at times it can't happen because maybe we don't have anybody to do the work. So I'd like to ask Dr. Conroy and staff about this program. I know this was something that actually I put on the agenda, the program, in the beginning last year. And it was explained to me that we didn't have the proper staff or the right staff or the amount that we needed at the time to be able to do this. And that we're working on making sure that moving forward, when we get out of the pilot year, that we have enough staff to be able to get these programs going district-wide. But at Oakview, it was more emergent. And so that's why we needed to do this. So right now, do we have any qualified staff that currently classified staff that could do these jobs?
Let me clarify. This program, this agreement is for Oak only at this time. This amendment is for Oakview. Oakview does not have any school sponsored program using school district employees at Oak. We have never had programs there. We've had programs that have been sponsored by the Boys and Girls Club since 2005 with 4th and 5th grade students. We have the Goals program, and those are all free to students. So we've never had a fee-based program at Oak because of the socioeconomic ability in the community for a broader provided program. So at Oak, in relationship to your question specifically at Oak, no, there's no staffing that is needed. There is no staff that are losing out on a potential job. We're not, in terms of the contracting out topic or issue, no classified employee is losing an opportunity to be employed there because we don't have a district sponsored program.
Oh, I understand that, but we could have a district sponsored program.
Well,
If we wanted to, we could.
in essence, this is a state sponsored program. And we are required to provide this program district wide at all our schools. And right now in the pilot, and I can have Dr. Hofer go into this more specifically, why don't you talk about the 50% that we're supposed to have right now district wide and where we're at?
For the pilot, the target is 50% of our unduplicated population, which this year is about 3,000 students. So this year we're supposed to serve about 1,500 students. ELOP, it is permissible to do a combination of district staff and contracted staff. We have contracted staff at our schools where we do not have a kids club program. Where we have a kids club program, we have hired every person who is qualified, who completes the process, we will take them. We have wait lists at every school ready to participate. So in looking at how to best utilize our staff, as of yesterday, we opened up ELOP at College, Golden, Lake, Star, and Village. We did contract that enrichment staff at our December board meeting. That was board approved. And as staff continues to get hired, we will bring them on. We'll bring more students off the wait list, and we'll just keep doing this. Come July 1st, we are supposed to serve 100% of our UPP, our unduplicated pupils. So we should be offering the 9-hour day to approximately 3,000 students.
So I understand all that. I guess what would be more beneficial is even at the school sites that haven't had kids club programs, that doesn't mean that we couldn't necessarily staff those sites with our own employees if we chose to make the program an Ocean View School District staffed program rather than contracting out, even though it's a state mandated program and it's state funded and all of that, we can use the funding how we see fit.
That is correct.
So if we had the employees, we could do that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So we need more employees. Is that what you're saying?
And we're working on that. We just did a recruitment we have 18 openings for, I think it's the universal IA. We just received, I think, 7 applications, so we're going through the process to hire them so that we are working and chipping down those vacancies that are in the ranks for that impact the Kids Club.
So do you believe at this time that this is critical that we have these 2 other classrooms open?
I think it is important. When we opened the program in September, since that time, kids have been putting on the wait list. And so from that time, it's incrementally grown to the point where we have about 40 students, which is what this contract is for, is to provide 2 more classrooms for 40 students who have been waiting on the wait list for, since the end of September. So this gives those kids from TK to 3 an opportunity for a program now. And if we delay it or wait, then they're either going home after school or waiting in the office for their parents, what they're currently doing.
Okay, that was another question I had, is where are these kids going? Are they going to another after-school program? Are they being picked up? Are they waiting? What's going on with the kids?
We don't have any other programs. So they're either going home with their siblings, getting picked up by family members, or they're waiting in the school office to get picked up by family.
Okay, thank you for the information. Mr. Clark.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing me. So it was my understanding, and if I understood this agenda item, that this is a program that we signed up for at Oakview that is run, that we initially hired this group to do back in September. Now we have a wait list of kids in that neighborhood who we don't know where they're going after school, but they're not going to our program, and we're trying to get them open up 2 more classrooms so that they can have a place to go. But now you're saying that we have this program, this money, this whatever alphabet soup program is going on at all of our schools or most of our schools. And we have to, this is our pilot year for 1 year. And we have to make sure that we enroll at least 1,500 in our pilot year. What happens if we don't enroll? What happens if we don't meet our targets any of those years?
In the pilot year, there is, because it's a pilot year, there's a target of 1,500. But if we don't get there, there's no ramifications.
So we don't lose funding?
If we don't spend the funding, we lose the funding. But if we don't hit the 1,500 student target and we still expend the funds towards the program, that is fine.
Okay.
Moving forward, we get audited for the 3,000 and spending funds.
So now you're saying that we have wait lists at other schools though as well.
That is true.
And that we cannot find the staff or hire the staff. What is it? Can we not find them or can we not hire them? Are we working with the Personnel Commission to get this done?
Yes.
So it's more a question by the count of our last meeting before that, no, the meeting before that, before Christmas, before we had the reorganization of the board, that it's getting caught up in that Personnel Commission mess where we're not able to hire people. So these students are going home.
I would rephrase that is that.
I'm sure you would, but let me just say it a different way. So these kids are going home unsupervised, maybe in some cases, because we can't get employees through this Personnel Commission hired to take care of these, even though we have some presumably that want to be hired. We just can't get them through the process.
I can't say whether we can't get them through the process. We are going through the process. We are advertising, we're recruiting. And when we get them in, we are doing the interview process and getting them as hired as quickly as we can.
Okay. I'm a little like, when it comes to student safety, it's on my radar a little bit more. Like it's more important to me and more concerning.
Absolutely.
But anyways, I thank you.
Go ahead, trustee.
Here's my $1 million question that I want everyone to get used to. How do we measure success? Anyone answer?
Dr. Fulford.
I would say with this program at this point, it's providing services that offer a combination of enrichment as well as like homework help. That's the combination of what this program offers, so that parents can work and know that their children are home, or excuse me, are at school adequately supervised.
Well, Adequate supervision is one thing, but developing the academic, social, emotional, and physical needs is what we're supposed to be doing, according to the item here. So how do we measure statistically the academic, social, emotional, and physical needs? Because if we're going to spend this kind of money, I just don't want to say, well, we've got a program, it meets the need. I want to know that it's effective and that it's working. And we're seeing the outcomes that we desire on the board, which are mostly academic outcomes. And if we're not, then we should terminate this program. So we have to have an effective means of measuring these programs. And if we don't, I'm going to be against the program because without measurement, we don't know if it's working or not. So that's where I'm at, board.
Okay, Madam Vice President, go ahead.
So where I'm at is that kids are safe after school. What we need to worry about is our kids going home with a sibling, maybe a sibling that's not equipped to watch them properly. Are kids going home on their own? Are they latchkey kids? Are they kids that are unsupervised? The reward or the outcome is that children are safe. That's all I need to know. This is an absolute yes.
Okay. And I'm going to echo those feelings. I think it is really important to ensure kids are safe. And so I'll just also echo a little bit of Mr. Clerk's, feelings on this. Obviously, any opportunity we have to use our own classified staff, we want to do that. I don't like to outsource to anyone. We believe we have the best classified staff around, but we also have to go, what is best for kids? And unfortunately, right now, in my heart, what's best for kids is for them to be safe. And we don't have the staff, so we need to consider doing this. I'm hoping and really, really looking forward to, whatever steps are going on with the personnel commissioner, with CSCA, that they're working on ensuring that they're lining up people, that they're interviewing, they're presenting possible solutions to this issue of not having enough staff to run these programs. Because in a perfect world, we would like for them to all be ran by our own classified employees. We don't want to continue to outsource, but we also need to know that in the coming year, there's about 3,000 kids that need to be serviced. And if we don't have the proper staff, we're gonna have to continue to do that. And I don't think any of us want to do that. So this is the time to be really proactive, working together to ensure that those conversations are happening, interviews, anything that needs to be done so that we can set ourselves for success. And so with that, we're going to go to the vote. Are we ready? Trustee Westwell, how do you vote? Trustee Westmoreland?
Aye.
Mr. Clerk?
Aye.
Madam Vice President?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. It passes 4-1 with Trustee Westwell in opposition. Okay. Okay, let's see. P, any other public comments to the Board of Trustees, Mr. Clerk?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Q, future agenda. Yeah.
We do have one?
Oh,
Oh.
Go ahead.
B trans CSEA Ocean View Chapter 375 president. I've already made my first mistake as president. I'm sure I will make many more. In my speech address to the board, I failed to mention that Dana Moyer, who is the food service worker at Westmont, is also our communications officer. So it's the position I held for 7 long years, and now she is gratefully and will be doing very great things for our membership and informing them. And I also wanted to, I know you had brought the trademark of the logo. I do want to point out, I wasn't going to say this, but now I'm up here and I'm going to toot my horn a little bit. I created the lettering that sits there. The logo, I am not an artist. I did not create that. Supposedly, I met the person many years ago in 2015, coincidentally, when I created this. Supposedly, that person was a retired employee of the district and created the logo. I don't remember her name. I kind of remember what she looks like, but I don't remember who it was. But yes, I created that lettering in preparation for our website that exists today. So
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dana. Welcome. Okay, and with that, we will go to Q, future agenda items as requested by board members. Is there any future agenda items, board? Yes, Trustee Westwell.
Well, it's been been far too long since we've taken a look at outside legal services. So pursuant to Administration Regulation 9322, Section C, I'd like to ask an RFP be done for legal services. So the board can take a look and see what kind of legal services are available to us out there. Thank you.
Okay. Any other board members? Okay, we are now at our Board of Trustees Roundtable. Trustee Westwell.
I hope this has been a pleasant meeting for everybody. One of my New Year's resolutions is to attempt to be a lot more pleasant on this board. I've had discussions with our president and our superintendent. And I think we've all come to the conclusion that we want to start following the bylaws and following all the rules, dotting all the i's and crossing all the t's, as that leads to better governance. It's my opinion that all of the rules have not been followed in the past and has led to governance issues, predominantly with me on this board. And so I think that we've come to an understanding of where we want to go and where we want to be. And I'm making a huge effort to be a lot more pleasant on this board and cooperative. And if I'm finding issues that need to be addressed, we're going to attempt to do that privately instead of publicly for the sake of our district. I think we're all in agreement on this, and we'll see how it goes. Now, this is not to say that I'm not going to hold people accountable. And you may think I'm being mean when I'm holding it accountable, but you know, this is the role. The number 3 role on this board is to hold people accountable. And one of the issues that I've seen in the past is people are not being held accountable. And that provided a governance issue for me. And so I think this is a new year. We're starting off with a new reconstituted board. I think that's going to help mitigate the situations that we've seen up here. And it's my opinion that the board wants to go the same direction. So I'm looking forward to a happy new year, and I'm ready to get started. And I hope I've been pleasant for everyone. And as I've said to some of you, if I am not, please tell me and I'll work harder. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Westwell. Okay. Trustee Westmoreland.
You know, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm just looking forward to starting my first full year here in the Ocean View School District as a trustee. And I think it's been a great first meeting. I appreciate your sentiments, Trustee Westwell.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clark.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm actually in agreement with both of the fellow trustees who've spoken already. I'm glad we're starting off on a new foot. It feels more positive than we've been in a long time. And I appreciate you working towards that direction, Trustee Westwell. I know that it seems like there's been talk in the district that, you know, that this may be some sort of strange, this vote on Boys Club may be some sort of strange, and the attack on the Personnel Commission may be some sort of strange anti-union, anti-CSEA thing. That is not my opinion at all. I'm a union member in my district. I'm a union rep in my district. I support unions. I don't think this is a question of a union mistake, to be perfectly honest. I think this is the Personnel Commission is an administrative body that the board really doesn't have any oversight on. And this is something, in my opinion, that needs to be fixed. And it's starting to endanger kids. And we want to hire more staff. We can't hire more staff. Were it up to us, this Boys and Girls Club program would have been staffed by our staff members, CSEA staff members. We just don't have that option. It's out of our hands. So I am really implore the CSEA staff members in our employ to help us remedy the situation as quickly as we possibly can. And it's a black mark on unions when this kind of thing goes on. And we don't need any more black marks as union members. We need to be shining stars. So, and we are, you know, our union members are fantastic people. Look at what was going on. You know, Fee was over here working with the data while the meeting was going on. He's here as a president, not as the data rep, but he's over there fixing stuff. And Patty Schraff is doing things outside of that aren't even in her contract, but she's just choosing to do the right thing. So I know we do the right thing, but you know, it's important that we move forward together. And I'm hoping that we can all do that in the same spirit that we're trying to do that here on the board. So anyways, Happy New Year. Let's get business done.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Oh, thank you, Madam President, for recognizing me. I do want everyone to know that I'm glad to hear that my trustee colleague at the end of the dais is wanting to turn over a new leaf, wanting to be positive, wanting to do what's right, to make sure that our board is a functional governance body. I want to thank him for sending me a Christmas card. That's not the first time he's done that. He's done that in the past. Thank you, trustee. One of the things I think that could be done to remedy some of our past, I guess, bad feelings or misunderstandings could be if the trustee would make sure that in the future and moving forward, he could take down a website that he's been running, an attack website on me, in fact, since about 2016. It's still up and running. I don't think that's real great for morale. I would never set up a website to attack my colleague, whether I agree with him or not. And on occasion, I disagree with him, and on occasion, I agree with him. I think it would go a long way if our trustee colleague could do something that he hasn't done for years. That would be, let's see, 16 to 2023, 7 years of a hate website against me. Be great if he could take that down. The other thing that he might want to do is moving forward, coming up to this next election years in 2024, if he would stop going to people's doorsteps and leaving cards with expletives, with inappropriate phraseology about me and attacking me, leaving cards. I've had employees tell me that they've been left at the doorstep attacking me. I've had voters tell me he's come to their doorstep and attacked me. I think it would be really appropriate if we're going to turn over a new leaf, if we're going to take a step towards making amends in this new year, that those would be the first steps that he could take to make amends, not only with me, but to every person that supports me, every employee that believes in me, every student that and their parents that know that I'll work for them no matter what. I think those things would go a really long way. So I asked my trustee colleague to do those things to make sure that we can go into 2023 and beyond with a fresh start. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, it's been a great first meeting. I think that we're getting a lot of good work done. I think that in the spirit of moving forward together, there's a lot of room for growth and opportunity for all of us. And I think that I look forward to us, really collaborating together and finding out that sometimes we're not going to agree, but we can do it respectfully. I continue to say that a lot. As the chair of this meeting, my job is to move the meeting along as quickly and as efficiently as possible. With a lot of grace, hopefully. And debate is a wonderful thing. Democracy happens in front. We're here to do the work of the people. And so that's what we're elected to do. And so I think anytime we can model wonderful, great behavior for our community, our students that are here with us at times, it's a great thing. But I do hope that these feelings of, a new beginning really are grounded in truth, and they are grounded in action. And so I'm going to do the best I can to ensure that I do that, and that I take up concerns and research them and make sure that I'm doing the best I can with it. And I think that I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate, Trustee Westwell meeting with Dr. Conroy before the meetings, having open discussions. I think all of us want to get along with each other. I think it's going to take all of us working together to do that. So in the spirit of that, I want to thank our audience for being here and sticking it out with us. Everybody that was here, all the wonderful presentations that we've had. And we look forward to serving you in an honorable way. So thank you. And with that, I will now say that we will need to be returning to closed session. So public, thank you for being here tonight. We are going to ask you to please exit the room. And if there is anything to report, Mr. Clerk, where would you be reporting that from?
Right outside that door, right there. I'll be reporting it. And there are Reiner Nuggets up here in the front.
Okay, well, thank you. And we are going to close session at, let's see, 8:33. Thank you.